My name is Miguel Myers. Welcome to My Horror Confessional, where every week I will have a guest come on and talk about one classic horror movie that they haven't seen and why. We'll discuss the movie, the actors, and probably get off topic quite a bit. Once I believe that they have properly atoned, I will absolve them of their horror movie sin. Today, we have Jessica McHugh. She is a novelist, poet, and internationally produced playwright running amok in the fields of horror, sci-fi, young adults, and wherever else her peculiar mind leads. She's had 24 books published in 12 years, including her bizarro romp, The Green Kangaroos, her YA series, The Darla Decker Diaries, and her blackout poetry collection, A Complex Accident of Life. Jessica, thank you for being on the show. So, what is your history with horror? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Did you grow up watching it? Were you allowed to watch it or not so?
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And yeah, no, horror's been in my life for a really long time. I started really young, and definitely I was, an 80s, 90s kid when the kids movies were kind of like bordering on horror and gory and like dark where you watch it now and like they let us watch this.
Mm-hmm.
um so I had that, but I also really loved ghost stories. I remember in our third grade portable, because like most of our classes were in those like kind of trailers, the portable classrooms, and there was a big basket of books, and it was just filled with ghost story kind of anthologies, and I would read those all the time. And every Saturday when I was a kid, there was like a horror movie that was shown every Saturday. It was followed by like a kung fu or kind of karate movie. I forget what it was called right off the top of my head, but I have like diary entries from when I was a kid where I'm like, oh, I'm just watching Serpent in the Rainbow. Like,
Wow, that
and
sounds
like, and,
amazing.
and I was like, I'm like 9. And it's like, and then like later I'd write about watching Frasier. So it was, my diaries are complex. Um,
A duality of man sort of
yeah,
thing, you know?
absolutely. So I watched a lot of horror. I read a lot of horror. I started reading Stephen King when I was in elementary school with Carrie and Pet Cemetery. And would bring them to school and read them aloud at the lunch table, which was very scandalous. Um, and I was a big Fear Street, R.L. Stein. Like, that was always my jam. So it's like,
Okay.
I've just really, really always loved horror. Um, yeah, and like, it's just so much, it's so fun to write. And like, the first stories I ever wrote as a kid were horror stories.
Okay.
So, I mean, and I have them.
Wow,
I
that's cool.
still have them in like an accordion folder. My parents kept everything. So,
So where did you grow up?
I grew up in not too far from where I live now in Carroll County in Maryland. Um,
Okay.
it was, farmland and woods basically when I grew up there in the 80s and 90s. It's a little bit more it's kind of much sadder now because the woods are gone, and like the houses are they're abandoned. It's crazy. Because like I grew up, it was like idyllic suburban wonderland where you could just run around in the woods all day and be whoever you wanted to be. My cats would follow me down into the woods, and I would bring a picnic and I would read and it was like a fairy tale. And then at the house next to me, I went back there and it was filled with garbage, and it's crazy. So again, horror is it's everywhere. Um,
And how about your parents or your family life? What did they? Oh, it sounds like they allowed you to watch this sort of stuff.
yeah, I guess they didn't really care. Um, they were a little wishy washy on stuff. They picked and chose. Like, they really didn't care that I was watching horror stuff or reading horror stuff until like Interview with a Vampire, like the movie came out and I said I wanted to read the book, and my parents, of course, seeing the trailer for this movie, all they see is like sex. And
Mhm.
if you've read Interview with a Vampire, you know that, they don't the vampires can't have sex. Like it's erotic, but it's not like, it's not sex. And really there's not that much of that in that movie or that book. There's violence for sure, but they didn't care the other violent things I was watching, no problem. But for some reason that was the line.
Okay,
That
well,
was the line.
yeah,
Yeah.
spoiler warning here for Interview with a Vampire for all my audience members who haven't read it. 40 years
You're,
later,
there's
wherever
no
it came, whenever.
sex. There's not
So I had
really.
I had a question for you. I've never read that book or any really Anne Rice to begin with.
Yeah.
So, and I saw the movie when it came out or a very long time ago, so I don't remember
Hmm.
too much about it. Why can't the vampires have sex? Are they like
Well, so they're described as being like hard everywhere but their genitals. And like that's not like vampires. Her vampires are not like sexual intercourse. Like they get their pleasure through the kill.
okay? So
And
it's not
whatnot.
like
So
they're
really, that's why Tale of the Body Thief is such a good book in that series, because Lestat gets to be in a human for the first time, and like he gets to use like his weed for the first time in like centuries, and there's a scene of him peeing, and it's hilarious. Like
how come that one wasn't made into a movie?
it's really a great book.
You know, I'm starting to think your parents were right about this.
Well, perhaps so, perhaps so.
Yeah.
But see, but they also, and then their other hard and fast line was train spotting. They thought train
Okay.
spotting was not appropriate for me, but I was in an acting troupe in high school that went around to rehabs and schools and performed like dramatic scenes of like drug abuse and like just domestic issues. Like I would die of a heroin overdose on stage like every week, but they wouldn't let me watch Train Spotting.
Wait, was this for other students or this was for like 40-year-olds in a drug abuse program or something?
All of them. All, yes.
Okay.
All
Because I'm
that.
just imagining like some hard, like grizzled veteran of the streets
Yeah,
who's
no, they were
overdosed like
there.
3 times,
Yeah,
watching some
no,
teenager, quote
no, they
unquote
were there.
overdose.
No,
Oh
they were
wow.
there. They would get angry.
Yeah.
They were
Wow.
there.
Okay.
They were there.
So yeah, so it does sound like your parents were a little bit wishy washy.
Yeah. They were a little. God bless them. It's hard. It's hard to be a parent. I'm not a
Yeah.
parent. I'm never going to be a parent. So
I'm
I
not a
don't,
parent either, so I'm like, yep,
they did the
fuck them
best they
kids.
could. They did the best they could creating a horror writer.
So I just saw Queen of the Damned for the first time, like ever.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I didn't real. Well, I avoided it when it came out, and now because I was like all nose in the air. Oh, that's not real horror
Mhm.
or anything. I'm trying to change my ways. I'm trying to be open more. I would like to
Yeah.
think I'm more open now. So I was like, yeah, I picked it up. It was like $3 or something, and that movie sucked. That
Yeah,
movie
it
really.
sucks.
And then I didn't
That's
realize it
my
was an Anne
favorite of the
Rice movie.
books. Yeah, that's my favorite of the books, so I especially dislike it.
Despise it.
Yeah, that's a really really cool book, and it goes like real deep into the vampire mythology, like her creation myth of vampires, and it's super rad. And it was not done justice, but it would be really hard to do it justice because it's brutal.
Yeah.
Like
I think
there's
Leah was the best part of that movie, and she wasn't in it
I'm
very much.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, she was Akasha to a T, but yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer. I think I saw it once and I was like, nope, that ain't it.
And how about like your community of friends or cousins or the people that you grew up with that were more your peers? Did you find like um, horror lovers within that, or were you kind of the solitary in that aspect?
I I don't I do feel like I was kind of like on my own there. I
Mhm.
mean, I watched horror with like my brothers, like on the weekend we would watch that Saturday matinee kind of thing. Nightmare Theater. That's what it was called. Nightmare Theater, and then it was followed by like Kung Fu Theater. Um so we watched a lot of kind of kung fu movies too. But so I'd watch with them, but not really. I was big into, you know, it's right in the age of Snick on Nickelodeon. So I was a big Are You Afraid of the
Yeah.
Dark? I am probably one of the biggest Are You Afraid of the Dark fans you could find.
Okay. Did you
And
see that trailer that Netflix dropped or something recently
oh
with?
yeah, no, that I watched the first episode of that. It's good stuff. I like it. I'm excited to watch the rest of it. But
Okay.
I mean, but I would watch that up on my parents' TV in their room by myself basically because no one would like watch it with me. But
Uh,
like when I had sleepovers, I would subject like my poor friends to like Dead Again and like, you know, other random like kind of horror slash kind of drama or like comedy stuff. I used to make them watch Little Shop of Horrors all the time. And so I kind of just subjected people to things and was like, they'll forgive me.
yeah.
They'll
And so
turn it off if they're not having a good time.
I think we're around the same age, and I'm not looking for your age, but I was going to say, did you have a like a VHS store in your area that
Oh
you would go
yeah,
to?
for sure.
Okay,
Oh
cool.
yeah, yeah,
What was yours called? Do you
absolutely.
remember?
So I actually worked at the one that was closest to us, which was Hampstead Video. I worked
Okay.
there for a little bit, which because I really just wanted to be like, hey, I worked at a video store. You know, I got
Yeah.
fired for taking pictures of myself in like the adult section.
Is this before cell phone cameras?
This would this I mean this would have
Were they
been
just Polaroids or something?
no, it was yes. Yeah, yeah. It was just a regular camera. Just a
Okay, okay.
regular camera with film I got developed. I
Yeah.
was it was yeah, but it was just selfies of me with like ridiculous porn titles. And they're
That's
like, "Yeah, we saw
amazing.
you on the camera taking pictures of yourself. You can't do that." And I'm like, "Okay."
That's free promotion. What's the problem?
Yeah. I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." But yeah, no, yeah, I'm right in that age. I turned 39 in a couple weeks, so
Okay. Yeah, me. I turned 39 on November 6th. So like we're right there then.
November 15th.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're like the same. We're like peers here. That's
Right.
awesome.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So mine was called Ted's Action Video, and it was in Chicago.
Ted's action
I
video.
mean,
That's the
iconic,
best.
you know. And they'd
That just
have like
sounds like a name of a it should be a name of a show.
like I wish I could get that in a T-shirt. I might still look at do it.
That'd be amazing. We had
Somebody should do
Errol's
that.
video. So and then I feel like we had like it was Act One video.
Okay. Yeah, but you don't know who owns it.
Yeah,
Whose
I have
Act
no
One
idea.
video is
I
it?
have no idea.
This is Ted's action
Yeah,
video.
Ted's.
I
Yeah.
want to meet Ted now. There's no way he's still alive, but I wish I could meet
Ted, if you're out there
him. And listening to this show, yeah.
and your videos still have the action that we remember and love, seek
Yeah,
us out.
there was I guess it's in all these little mom and pop shops. There was the little section in back with all the
Oh
porn
yeah.
stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so you worked there, so you had to see all the weirdos coming in.
I mean, I it's so weird because I feel like I don't remember ever checking out anybody getting porn, but I always had to call people and leave messages on their answering machine saying their porn was overdue. Like
Oh my god, that's amazing.
it was like it was the opposite of Willy Wonka's factory. Like I never see
Yeah.
anyone go in. Everybody's just always coming out and they just keep on coming. And I have to I have to leave the message.
they're checking out these porn videos. There's no way that they want to go up to like a, I don't know, were you a
Yeah,
teenager or like
yeah,
early 20s or
I
something?
was. I think I was like 18. So
Yeah,
yeah,
they don't want to
yeah,
go to like this a teenager like to rent out this porn. They're like, God, is she working again now? Damn, I got to
yeah.
go in
It's
later or something.
damn. Okay, I gotta get Little Big League again.
I remember I would always rent Faces of Death from the
Oh
local
my
place,
god, I love
and
that.
like I saw it like I don't know a dozen times, but like I would rent it. I've heard people say that they wouldn't rent them to them; they'd have to rent it to their older brother, sister, or their parents, something like that. But
Oh,
like for
uh-huh.
me, the guy just let me rent it. There was no like, this is like
It's like, here
I don't
you
know, was
go,
there?
kid. Have
Yeah, there
fun.
you go. Get the hell out of here, scram, beat it. So
Get.
I should send him my therapy bills now. I don't know.
There you go.
So all right, cool. So Jessica, you came on to confess your sin of never having watched The People Under the Stairs. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. That is
Okay.
correct. A
So,
grievous sin, indeed.
one of the first questions I ask is, why do you think this particular movie passed you by?
So I have a very personal reason of why I didn't watch this movie is
Okay.
because the town that I grew up in Hampstead, and then going as it branched into Manchester, they had a billboard for the movie, like a giant billboard, and it for some reason it just scared the shit out of me. Like I could not, like every time we passed it, I just got filled with terror. And so I was like, okay, I'm not gonna. I probably my parents wouldn't have taken me to the movies to see that anyway. Although they did take me to some questionable movies, but I don't think they were going to take me to that one. But they did not take it down. The billboard, like after it was gone from the theater, like it was up for I feel like 3 years, and like just getting more like faded and horrifying, and like it kept getting built up in my mind as like the scariest movie ever. And I didn't even know anything about it. Like
uh,
seriously, my imagination was just going wild trying to imagine what this was about. And then people started telling me that there was a character who like had their tongue cut out or like their mouth sewn shut or something like that. And I was like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. I have big issues with like face stuff in horror. Like that's really what freaks me out. So I just even more, I was like, I don't want to see it. And I really had it built up. And I was like, before I watched it, I was like right on the edge of a panic attack. I was like, I am so scared. And
well,
then
are you ready to relive your trauma as we talk about the movie?
yes. Yes. I'm ready to
Yeah.
relive my trauma because it wasn't
That's
scary.
yeah. That's awesome because if you think about it, like the name itself, The People Under the Stairs, is an amazing name for a
It's
movie.
so scary.
Yeah.
It's just so ominous and like open to interpretation, and like I think I just my mind went wild with it. And it was
Yeah.
like that billboard, like it's the like skull and the like house. It's scary.
So like the billboard just eventually just said like the people the heirs.
Yeah, yeah, seriously. It's like just peeling and
That's awesome. So we're going to be talking about The People Under the Stairs, written and directed by the master of horror Wes Craven. This came out in 1991, just after Shocker and before New Nightmare came out. So that's kind of where he's at in his career. So you said you had a face thing with horror. How did you feel about Freddy?
oh God, oh, oof,
Like his face, the
Well, I mean,
pepperoni.
Freddie just, I mean, his face is scary, but like Freddie is was a constant terror to me because of because he can get you in your dreams. Like
Mhm.
you can't not sleep. So like it felt like to me the infallibility of Freddy like really terrified me, and it was like I definitely watched most of the movies like through the fingers. Like
Yeah.
yeah, that was one I would watch a lot during they would have a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street during Nightmare Theater. And and I'd do the thing where it got to a part I hated and I'd switch the channel real quick and be like, I'm sure it's over. And then quick switch
Go
back.
back.
No! Too soon. Switch back.
So I have a really funny thing about that is my wife is kind of similar to you. When we first got together, she wasn't into horror at all, and throughout the years, we've been together 16 years now, and she's grown to like some horror. The other day, we went to the premiere or of not the premiere, but like the opening of Halloween Kills. Have you seen
Oh,
it yet?
uh-huh. I haven't.
I won't give any spoilers, but there's this one scene where, and we sit at the end of an aisle so that if she has to leave, she can leave immediately.
Hmm.
And so there was this one scene where like you knew that there was some rough kills happening, and
Okay.
so she left before the kills happened, and she was gone. I don't know, 5 minutes or so. And she comes back, and as she sits down, nothing happens while she's gone. But as she sits down,
Oh no.
everybody dies.
Oh
And she's
no.
just like, God damn it. And she's got her hand in front of her eyes and all that.
Oh no.
It's just that worst timing, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I had a several years that I couldn't watch any horror really at all. And I was yeah, because I was having a lot of like waking nightmares. If I watched any horror, like I would just be up all night with just really visceral nightmares. And so I had to like stop watching for like years. I was still writing horror. I just couldn't watch it. Couldn't consume it.
You just said you went years without watching horror?
Yeah, like I didn't
Okay.
watch it for the longest time, and it was crazy that because that's when I was going to like lots of horror conventions and I was on panels and people would be like, "What's the last horror movie you watched?" I'm like, and then like my fellow authors would be like, "Jessica can't watch horror right now." Like everyone would make fun of me.
So
But
what do you
yeah,
think was the catalyst that brought you out of that?
well, I ended up getting on depression and anxiety medication. It was just kind of an interesting thing.
Okay, I get that.
Like I was on it for a couple years and it stopped the really bad kind of nightmares that I was having that was like giving me insomnia, and then I was able to consume horror again, and then when I got off the medication and moved to medical marijuana, then I was able to watch horror and have no more nightmares. So, well, I
That's
mean, I still get
awesome.
nightmares, but normal
Yeah.
ones. Not like friggin' children, like crawling through the room where it's like, no, sir.
That's like a perfect example of why weed should be legal everywhere, you know? But
Yeah,
I
it
live
is
in
helpful to me.
you happen to live in a in a state that you can do that, and I live
Yep.
in Texas, which sucks. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Sorry.
So, yeah, I know. I'm sorry about it too.
Maryland pride.
Yeah. All right. So, People Under the Stairs, written and directed by Wes Craven, starring Brandon Quinton Adams as Fool. He was also Kenny from The Sandlot. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
it's so
love
cool.
I had no idea he was the star of this movie, and that made me so happy. I was like, "Oh, like he was like one of my favorite like people back in the 90s cuz he was in
Yeah,
like Mighty Ducks
yeah, he was in
and
the.
like he was a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
Like
and
a
I looked
bunch
him
of
up, and he.
TV shows too. Like he was
Yeah,
just in everything.
unfortunately, I don't think he's done much since
Yeah.
growing up. Which kind of sucks because he did an
Yeah.
amazing
He
job
was
here as a
good.
little kid
He was
actor.
great.
I like him.
Yeah, he was great.
Then we have AJ Langer as
Oh
Alice.
yeah, Rayanne Graff. I didn't realize she was in this either.
What character is that from?
My so-called life.
My So-Called Life. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
She's from. And
And apparently she's like a princess or a duchess or something. She's like royal. She's married to like somebody from the royal family.
wow, that's cool.
Because
So
I
she
was
doesn't need
like,
to
oh
act
my God,
anymore.
she's in this movie? And I was like looking it up.
Ving Rhames from
Oh, yeah.
absolutely everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Any number of things you could have
Yeah.
said.
He's Leroy in it. And then we
Yeah.
have Sean Whalen from Men in Black. He plays Roach.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
I have a thing about him later. Kelly Joe Minter as Ruby Williams. She's
Mm.
Maria from The Lost Boys. And
Oh.
also Yvonne from Nightmare on Elm Street 5. I think that one's Dream Child. And then Bill Cobbs as Grandpa Booker. And he's also from Demolition Man, if you remember that.
And the Twin Peaks. The
And the
mother and father, the Twin Peaks duo.
Yeah. So I've never seen Twin Peaks, but
Oh man, they were an absolute treat to see. And like when they came up in the cast or the credits at the beginning, I was like, "Oh, whoa." I was so excited. I love Twin Peaks, so.
and they play a husband and wife in the show, right? In Twin
Yes.
Peaks.
Y-
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
that's why they had like this good rapport because they've already been
Yeah.
working together. That was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So
No, it's
kind of
really
a
good.
inspired bit of casting from Craven.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they are great together, and they were incredibly gross in this movie.
In this movie, yeah,
In this
yeah,
movie.
yeah. There's so many like red
Wow.
flags. Very early on.
Wow. Wow.
So Craven has stated. Oh, first of all, I want to back up and say that I got my information a lot from IMDb, and also from Wikipedia. So I'm going to be sharing some facts that I got from there. Craven has stated that People Under the Stairs was partially inspired by a news story from the late 70s in which two burglars broke into Los Angeles household, inadvertently causing the police to discover that two children had been locked away by their parents. And so that prompted him to kind of write this story. And it kind of received generally mixed to positive reviews from critics and audiences. And it's been analyzed for its satirical depiction of gentrification, class warfare, and capitalism. There's a lot of messages wrapped up in this
Yeah,
horror movie.
it's a
And
lot.
to people who say horror shouldn't be political, like wake up and open your fucking eyes. It's always
It
been political.
always has been.
Yeah.
Always has been. I mean, and honestly, if your horror isn't trying to say anything at all about any kind of like message, belief, or any kind of message you're trying to communicate, then what's it doing? It's just
Right.
like, yeah. I mean, and this one I feel like was so it was amazing because I had no idea it was, I guess, a horror comedy. Because it does have so many kind really deep issues in it, and there's some really disturbing things that happen in it, and then it's like, whoa, wacky zany. I
Here's
was
a dog
like,
eating an arm or a hand.
oh my god, I just remembered the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a thing. Uh, I was just really shocked by all the layers to this movie. I didn't
Mhm.
expect it to have so many layers. And then just when it would do something zany, then you would get hit with something like really kind of sentimental or like really sad. And then there would be a cage full of people getting fed other people. And I don't know. It was a lot. I need to watch it probably 4 more times to pick up on all of the stuff because it was pretty shocking to
Yeah, it
me
was it was like
how
a
good it
little
was.
it was a little under an hour 40, but it was densely
There
packed.
was
I mean, like,
so much stuff in there. Like the house with all the hidden passages and everything. Like that was, I was like, this is evil Home Alone. Like
mhm.
basically you want the robbers to come in and stay and never be able to leave, and all the booby traps and stuff. So it was just like I thought it was brilliant. And I kind of think I did myself a disservice not watching it when my peers were watching it, when I was a
Well,
kid.
to be fair, I don't think 13-year-old or whatever 15-year-old Jessica McHugh would have understood all the themes that were
Not at
not to say
all. Not
any
at
child
all.
would
No,
not
no,
get
no,
all the themes that were
no.
in it, you know.
Not at all. But I mean, man, I it was just fun.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, it was fun, but it was also like it touched on it had some heart. It had heart. I
Okay.
really liked Fool, and he was a fun character, and I felt for him, and I identified with him, and I felt bad for him because like apparently every other kid in the world was in juvie, and he was the only one left.
Yeah.
I felt I was like, really, he's the only kid left that you can find. Okay.
So let's get into this. So we start
Yeah.
with some ominous strings, then we see that beloved name, Wes Craven, then the title card, The People Under the Stairs. I feel like Wes has no time for fuckery. He's jumping right in, and like we said, like there's no downtime in this. There's no slow time.
Mm-mm.
So he's just like, here's the name, let's go. So we see some tarot cards, and we hear someone reading a fortune. She said, "Swords and staves. What a tough road you have this year. Judgment, Death, and Mr. Devil. Glad it's your birthday reading and not mine." Next, the woman pulls the Fool card and says, "This is where I got your name." Apparently, Fool is turning 13 years old today. The woman says he's not the stupid kind of fool, only the ignorant kind, because he's only starting out. And the woman points out that the fool is already in danger because in the depiction, he's walking towards the cliff, which is giving away unbeknownst to him. And then he has this trusty dog next to him, warning him, foreshadowing maybe. Fool asks, "Well, what can the fool do if not just walk off the cliff?" And she says he's going to do what he has to do, which is to turn around and walk straight through the sun. And Fool is shocked and says he'll get burned up if he does that. And the woman says, "Just the boy part gets burned up. The rest comes out the other side a man." What a beautiful way to recap the
Yeah.
story. And we're going to talk about
Mm-hmm.
that later. But this is on
Yeah.
point. He tells you the story, everything that's going to happen right here.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
So, a question for you: do you believe in tarot? Like, have you ever had your fortune read?
Oh yeah, like lots of time. Yeah, I just had someone who uh read read me a couple weeks ago, and it was basically like a lot of it I feel like wasn't good. But it was kind of the thing where it's like, oh, but usually this isn't good, but these are the ways you know, you're working through it or something. I mean, I find it very interesting, and I think that I believe in energy and the energy of other people that believe so wholeheartedly in something. I believe that has an effect, and yeah, I think it's cool either way. There's so much in the world I don't understand. I don't claim to understand anything. I know I'm not gonna know whether anything is right or wrong or is real or not. So I'm just I'm just going with the flow.
Okay. I've never had my fortune read. Oh, is that what it is? Fortune read, or is it
I mean, I think
tarot
there's lots of
reading?
different things. Tarot. I mean, you can have someone kind of read your energy, or you can ask a question, and it can give you kind of like a general path, like about that question, or you can do like palms and stuff like that. So
Okay.
there's lots of different things.
Have you have your palm read?
I don't know if I ever had. I had a book when I was a kid, and like I would try to read my own, but
Jessica, are you a witch?
I hope so. That'd be great.
Yeah,
That'd be
that'd be
great.
awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, my palms are just they seem pretty boring. It's like just, you're fine.
Yeah. I've never had any of that stuff
Yeah,
done. Like
whatever.
I was born into a Catholic family,
Hmm.
but I've left that all behind. And with religion, with leaving religion behind, I feel like I've left everything else that borders around that. But my mom used to practice Santeria, and so like that goes a little bit with the tarot card reading and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah,
I don't
I mean,
know.
I
It's
think that stuff's really I think it's really neat. Like I said, like I can't say I believe one way or the other in like spirits and all that kind of stuff, but I do believe in energy, and I believe that, imprints are kind of left behind, whether those are emotional things that we create ourselves or left by the energy that was in a place. I don't know. I just write it. But I mean, I do feel like I'm a spiritual kind of person. Um, I grew up in the church to a certain point where, I did Sunday school until I was old enough, and then I would go to church and communion and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
until you hit a certain age, and the parents were like, "Okay, now we believe you're old enough to make a decision," and me and my brothers were like, "See ya."
That's
Sleeping in on
awesome.
Sunday. Yeah. So, but I find it all very fascinating. I took Bible lit in high school. I find religion and all that any kind of spirituality, any kind of faith. I find it all very interesting. I just don't subscribe to any, which,
Okay. Yeah.
again, maybe I'm a little bit like my parents, wishy washy.
It's in your blood.
It's in my blood to be wishy
Yeah.
washy.
But that your parents sound cool, I gotta say, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they did their best.
Oh yeah. Next, we see that same card is on a bookshelf, and we hear a woman coughing in the background. We pan out to finally see our main character, Fool, reading a book by candlelight. We hear the tarot card reader say, "Just try to sleep, Mama. There's nothing you can do." Fool looks worried and he goes to check on his mom. We see the apartment he's in looks to be older and run down. The shades are unkempt. There's multiple mattresses on the floor. The walls are like, I think it's wallpapers peeling down or they're all dirty. We're being led to believe that this is a lower class residence, lower socioeconomic class residence. As he walks over, he covers up his little sister, which I thought was a really nice touch. We get, with just that little gesture, we kind of get to know who Fool is and what
Yeah.
he's about.
Hmm.
We hear his mom talking to Fool's sister. His mom is lying in bed, worried because they just received a notice of eviction from the landlord. She says she can't believe he would do this now. They both notice Fool, and his sister closes the door, telling him there's nothing you can do. Go back to reading your book. Looking distressed, Fool walks over and sits down on the floor, not noticing the man who's sitting nearby as well. Ving Rhames.
I was like, where the hell did he come
Yeah,
from?
because Fool's been
Listen,
reading a book for a while.
yeah, it's just like I'm like, you know what? If I am ever reading a book and I look up and Ving Rhames is sitting opposite me, I
Maybe.
know I'm gonna I know I'm in for a magical adventure, a magical Phantom Toll Booth esque adventure.
I mean, the candles are already lit, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
I was like, I literally said out loud, where did he come from?
Yeah.
Like, how'd he get in the house? Well, he knows the sister.
Yeah, and that relationship is kind of weird. I'm going to talk about it in a little bit because we don't really know what it is. But so he lights up a cigarette, and Fool finally notices him and says, "Who are you?" He takes a long drag from his cigarette and introduces himself as Leroy, friend of Ruby's. He asks if he's Fool. Then Fool says his real name is Poindexter. I'm like, poor kid, he can't win for losing, either Fool or
Yeah.
Poindexter. I'd
Yeah.
probably go with a Fool also.
I'd go with Dex. Come on.
Oh, well, yeah, there you go. Or Dexter, yeah.
Come on, Dex. But it's just so funny because they could have called him Dex too, like a deck of cards.
Ah, that's why you do what you do.
But I mean, they don't want to. I mean, they're supposed to. It's Fool and Poindexter are both kind of weak sounding names. They're trying to like bring him down. I feel like in the characterization, make him seem like yeah. So he has more to overcome.
Yeah, but like he hesitates for like half a second. Throughout this whole movie, he's like the strongest character when it
Oh
comes to like
yeah,
courage, you know? So
yeah.
I just
He's
find it
great.
funny the classification that they tried to put him in, but I don't know if it's because the child actor was so good or whatever,
Yeah.
but I was behind him. I thought he could do anything the whole movie, so which was
Oh yeah,
awesome.
for sure, for sure. Well, yeah, he comes out in the end being like, it doesn't matter, what anyone calls you. You make a name for yourself.
Yeah. So a fool asks Leroy why his mom was crying, and uh, in a nod to how he's going to be the rest of the movie, Leroy tells him it's because they've been evicted and need to leave by tomorrow night. It's very direct with Fool. A lot of people aren't that direct with children, but
But just sudden Ving Rhames, that's the way he rolls.
that's how he rolls.
And suddenly Ving Rhames.
That's a great title for a book or something.
I hope that's how it was written how it's written in the script. And suddenly,
Yeah.
comma, Ving Rhames.
Like Ving Rhames is the type of actor where if his name was just Ving Rhames in every movie he was in, that'd be fine too.
Yeah, Ving
He
Rhames
never
as
needs to be
himself.
anybody but Ving.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Like 100%. And they should never reveal that until the very end. Like, no one refers to him by name until the end. They're like, thanks, Ving. And you realize he was Ving Rhames the entire movie.
Yeah. So then Leroy makes a joke about Ruby not seeing that in the cards, which is, haha, funny. Fool asks, doesn't the landlord know that his mom's sick or that Ruby has children? Leroy says, yeah, he knows. He just doesn't care. They want to tear down the building, and they're the last family in it. Leroy then asks Fool if he has some money he could kick in for the rent. Sadly, he does not. Leroy looks at Fool for a while, then says, I know a way you can earn some. You game? And then Fool is, I said here, like, Fool is heading toward the cliff here. Feels like. Next, we see a huge fireplace with what looks like table legs burning for the fire, which I didn't quite understand. I'm sure they were trying to say something there, but
I don't
maybe
remember. I don't remember the table legs. But
maybe that they're so cheap that maybe they're miserly. They don't want to pay for heating, so they just burn.
In the house. It's in the brother sister house.
Yeah, in the brother sister house. Yeah.
House. Okay. Yeah, maybe it's just weird for weird's sake.
Yeah, it's true. So the man. Oh, and in the movie, the husband, these weird people, they don't have names. They shot their names once, but so they're just man and woman in the cast. Yeah. Okay. But I started calling.
But they're like mommy and daddy.
Yeah. Or so I started doing that for a while. Then I was like, well, I'm gonna have to read this out loud, and I don't know if I want to.
It doesn't feel good.
I might be going back and forth between man and mommy and daddy or whatever the hell. So please forgive me for that. I'm just gonna say that. It's weird, and I'm get it out now.
It's gross.
So then the man is eating his dinner like in a disgusting manner.
Yeah.
And then there's a younger woman. She's walking around in a nightgown, and the woman is sewing and says that once we get that last family out of the building, we can tear it down. They can build new condominiums with new, clean, white people, and more money. The daughter asks, "What happens to the people that are kicked out?" The mom says, "I wasn't talking to you." Then the mom asks the husband when the people will be out of the building, to which he replies, "Tomorrow night." He's eating like a whole bird or something. The bone still on his plate. It's really weird. And he's also picking buckshot out of the meat. So he's a bad hunter. I don't know if you caught that. So that means
I don't remember that.
He went up to a turkey, just shot it in the body, and then
he's just like pulling out buckshot.
Yeah, so he's just a bad hunter, I wouldn't put it past him to just like have a pet turkey and then just shoot it in the back or something.
Yeah, no, not at all. No, that sounds right.
So as you were saying, Everett McGill and Wendy Robbie were cast as these characters after having starred together as married couple Big Ed and Nadine Hurley in the television series Twin Peaks.
So good.
I want to see that now. A lot of people have talked about it. I'm not big into it.
I
tried like the first episode and it was a little slow for me, but
for sure. So like I didn't watch it until like I think it was like 2014 or 2016. I can't remember. 2014. I was writing an erotic horror novel. And I was like, so I'm going to watch Twin Peaks for the first time. And my husband was out of town. And I thought the same thing. I was like, I thought Twin Peaks was supposed to be like weird and like, messing with your mind and stuff. And I'm like going through like a couple episodes and it was so slow. And then, bam, it like hit an episode and then like all like turns it on its head, and I'm like
Okay.
obsessed. I love it.
Okay. That's good
Highly
to know.
recommended.
Okay, that's good to know. I might give it a shot. But like in my mind, I was like, it's been on CBS, right? Or so it was like
It
on a network.
it was originally on a network. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like in my mind, I'm like, how scary could it be? But
I
I just gotta
mean,
give it a
like
shot.
people definitely did not get it. It's real weird.
Okay.
So like it's amazing. It's actually, once you watch it, it's fascinating that it was allowed to be on TV. I feel like it's kind of like Hannibal. Like Hannibal was on TV too, and Hannibal is psychotic. Like it's so sexy and so gory. Like it's amazing, and it's all mixed up together, and it's like these beautiful, like uh just grotesque visuals that are insane. And I'm like, they put that on TV in prime time.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So
Well,
I think every so often you get something that slips through the cracks like that.
okay. Well, I definitely have to watch Hannibal again, or not again.
Oh
I have
yeah.
to watch it because I've never seen it. So okay.
Hannibal is whew.
Okay. That's two. That's two I gotta
Yeah.
watch.
Those
Yeah.
are actually like my two favorite shows in the entire world is Twin Peaks and Hannibal. So.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. All right. So the next day we hear like this great early '90s film score, like hip hop beats and saxophone. That's always a winning combination.
Yep.
We see Fool running to his apartment building, and as he's walking up the stairs, he sees junkies, pimps, sex workers, stray dogs. Like smoke fills the air. It seems a bit overkill. Like I know we're trying to say that he's living in like the projects, but
Yeah.
it's like out of central casting or something.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah. Yeah. It was a little much. Like just jumping over so many people to get to his house.
yeah,
But yeah. But I mean, we get
yeah. So
it. They communicated it.
So now we know that the owners are slumlords. Dogs are fighting over like a rat's carcass. Like this is a hellhole. He lives in a
Yeah.
hellhole, you know. And like I know we don't want this family to be kicked out on the street, but maybe they should move, or you know,
Yeah.
I know the whole circumstances are terrible, and like them trying to like force
With
them out. By,
the mom with the cancer complicates
yeah,
things in a huge way.
yeah, but
So, I mean, yeah, they got
maybe
obstacles.
yeah, definitely. So Fool knocks to be let in, and then his little sister eventually does. And so I had a question for you. Like, do you remember being young enough to not have a key to your own house? Like, that's crazy to me. Like having a knock to be let in.
Shoot. That's a good question. No. Well, yeah, because when I was before I had a key to my own house, I would go to daycare after school, which it was at a house up the street. One of my brothers would be with me at daycare, and he had the key.
Okay.
So I
How old
personally
were
didn't have it
you when
when I
you
got
got a
my own
key? Do you remember?
key.
Yeah.
Probably like 11,
Okay.
12,
All right.
something like that. Maybe,
I
yeah.
don't
I
know
think I
what the
probably,
definition. I don't know what the definition of a latchkey kid is, but I think we were latchkey kids because we
yeah,
walked to school and from school by ourselves in the morning. Like I'm not doing it like uphill in the snow or anything, but like
yeah, yeah.
it was like 2 or 3 blocks away,
Uh
and
huh.
it'd be like 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, and then like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we had our own set of keys at like
Hmm.
I don't know whatever second grade is. I don't know if that's 8 or 9
Yeah.
or something.
Well, I mean, there was always, for me, because I was the youngest, there was always somebody, if my parents weren't home, which they weren't a lot,
Yeah.
because my mom worked, my dad worked, not a 9 to 5, but it was in, like Baltimore. So we'd take the metro and then have to drive home. And my mom was a nurse in Baltimore area, and so she worked nights a lot. So when they weren't home, I had two older brothers, and one of them would have a key. Someone would let me in.
Okay.
A
Okay.
lot of times, I don't even think the door was locked, though. To be
Yeah.
honest,
Oh wow. Okay.
it was always locked when I actually needed to get into it, and I had to break into my own house a lot.
Yeah.
But
I
but
I would very often lose my keys because I'm a little kid, and it got to the point where my dad would have to hide a spare key somewhere outside, but like really, really hide it because we don't want
Yeah.
any. We lived in Chicago in the city. We don't want anybody else to find it,
Mm.
and so he'd get pissed every time I'd lose it because then he'd have to find a new spot to hide it. So it was just I was watching this and I was like, wow, like imagine not having a set of keys. I just thought that was crazy.
Yeah.
That brought me back to my childhood there.
Yeah.
So we hear Ruby talking to Leroy saying Fool doesn't need to work for him. Leroy says he'd do better than what's happened to Fool's siblings already. Out of 7, 4 are already dead, and Ruby is a sex worker. One's a fiend, and the other's in jail. Obviously, Leroy doesn't use the term sex worker here, because he's an asshole. Um, but the math isn't mathing, so because he didn't include that doesn't include Fool, so that'd be out of 8.
Yeah.
But so come on, Leroy, you're already messing up here.
Come
But
on, Bing. Get it
so
together.
Ruby says that Fool wants to be a doctor, but Leroy says they can't even afford rent. How are they going to afford to pay for medical school? So like already we're not liking Leroy. He's a jerk, and he's maybe a predator. I don't know if because
Yeah.
he
I
wants
couldn't
Fool to
get
work for him.
it did seem like I mean, him just suddenly showing up felt like he went there with the intention of recruiting him.
Yeah.
Like, it felt to me, it was just like he felt like he was being targeted. I don't know why. Um
Well,
Maybe,
I
like, I
think
guess through Ruby he learned that she had a brother and he's like, "Hey, I'll make that kid steal stuff with me."
Yeah, I think they had the plan already, and we'll get to
Yeah.
it where he needs a little kid. So,
Yeah. Oh, right.
um,
They do need. Yeah.
so then Leroy tells Fool about his mama dying from cancer because she can't afford the surgery to get it taken out. Ruby tries to stop Leroy from saying this, but he grabs her. Oh, I'm sorry. He forcefully puts his hand over her mouth and continues talking. Fool comes to his sister's aid and kicks Leroy in the shin. So on this rewatch, I'm starting to think maybe Leroy is Ruby's pimp or something. I thought maybe he was a friend or like
They
a
have a
fuck buddy, but
weird
he's
relationship for sure.
yeah, it's
I
giving me like
I'm not
abuser
sure.
vibes.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the relationship is there. It definitely feels like she's indebted to him in some way ish. I have no idea. It's strange for sure.
It could even be some sort of grooming situation. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
I mean
know.
his character on the whole I think is bizarre and I'm like, a kind of just weird. I mean, not a great guy.
Yeah, but
Not a good guy at all, but
it puts
also just
us.
very weird.
Yeah, I mean, it puts us as the audience later on in a weird situation because we are rooting for this person not to get killed
Right.
from these racist, slumlords
Right,
or whatever. But like,
exactly.
I don't know, it's weird, but it's
But you're
very
like,
interesting. I love
also
that he did
wait,
it.
he's not good.
Yeah, like he's not good, but that doesn't mean you can kill him, or something
Yeah.
like that. So,
Yeah, exactly.
all right, so Leroy grabs Fool by his shirt and tells him to basically grow up. He's got a chance to hit the person who's causing him all the hurt in his world, the landlord. Apparently, Leroy found a quote unquote treasure map and some documents from a liquor store that he robbed the night before. The documents have the same name as the business that owns the liquor store.
The treasure map from the liquor store he robbed.
Yeah.
Sorry, like it
What?
didn't like just laid out like that. It's just fun.
Yeah. I mean, they just happen to own the liquor store and this
Yeah,
building,
and
and
the
like
treasure map.
half the buildings in the ghetto.
Yeah.
And also, he knows where the landlord lives. So like, oh, this is all like coming
This
together
is
very
all coming
nicely.
together for me. Everything's coming up, Leroy.
Yeah. I mean, what, you've never found a treasure map, Jessica? I can't
I
find this.
mean, I have found many a treasure map, just not in the liquor stores I rob. They're only in the liquor stores I legally patronize.
Yeah. Could you imagine if you found like a treasure map at the VHS at the rental store that you worked at?
I mean, that would be amazing.
That'd be
That
awesome.
would be
Like,
amazing.
So Ruby says, not to do it. She's heard bad things about them, which, well, she was right. Leroy asks if she's heard about the gold. This gets her and Fool's attention. The letter he found is from this letter is magical. Like this documentation that he's, it's like not, I don't know if it's called a MacGuffin or whatever, but just like
Mm.
everything they need is in this
Yep.
documentation.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's from the company that wants to buy the landlord's gold. Ruby says he could be stupid all by himself. He doesn't need Fool for that. Leroy says that they have a plan for him. He then asks Fool if he wants to do it or if he wants to see his family out on the street. Um, Later, Fool is visiting with his mom at her side. He says one day he's going to buy her a Cadillac for each foot. And I remember thinking like this, thinking I wanted to buy a house for my mom so she couldn't, she didn't have to, she could stop working. She had a bad back and like bad arthritis. So this really hits close to home. So Mama says, you just worry about taking care of the family. You're the man of the house now. It's like, what a horribly sad thing to hear. Like she has resigned herself to her fate.
Mm-hmm.
That she's going to die, and she's going to die because she can't afford this medication. This hits really
Yeah.
close home because I had a brother pass away from cancer like 2 years ago. So it's
Oh
like,
my gosh, I'm so
damn, like I'm
sorry. Yeah.
no, thank you very much. It's like I'm watching this horror movie and like my eyes are tearing up because
Oh,
of
for
this.
sure. Yeah,
But
my dad is going through cancer right now, so it's
I'm so
like
sorry to hear
no,
that.
it's just crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's I feel like every close friend I have, everyone I meet has some really close personal story about it, and that's why cancer is such a
Yeah, fuck cancer, right? Yeah,
And
it's
those were anger
terrible.
noises to everyone listening. Those were my anger noises.
Yeah. And it's but now we have
Yeah.
Fool's motivation. Now we
Yeah.
know why he's doing
Yeah.
what he's doing. You know.
Absolutely.
So later at the landlord's house, we see the daughter finishing her dinner, and the mother walks in. And so right away, this situation is very weird because why is the daughter eating her dinner in her bedroom?
Yeah.
Something's wrong there.
Mhm.
The daughter seems to be very frightened of her. The mom picks up the plate and says, "You didn't lick this, did you?" Which is a very weird question to ask. But the daughter says no. And I think we understand why she asks that question, and we're going to find out in a
Yeah.
second here. But the mom tells her to stand up as she's finished sewing a dress for her, and so that she like forces the dress on her, and then
Mm.
she combs her hair very roughly, and as a man like with like long hair that gets
Yep.
tangled
No. Yep.
very easily, you got to chill, mom. That shit
You could feel
hurts,
that. Yeah. No, I could
and you
feel
can
that.
hear it. It's just like,
Yeah.
like fuck.
Yeah. No. Nope. I know it. When I have
And-
curly hair, it's the worst. No.
Yeah, I got a curly hair too right now. It's wet, but it gets really curly.
Hmm.
And then, like, I can imagine just filming that scene. I don't know if the girl's wearing a wig or if she had to go through that
Yeah.
multiple times. That must have sucked.
Yeah. No. That was not pleasant.
Yeah.
But it definitely reminded me of a scene from Twin Peaks where there's like a dinner scene that's very uncomfortable and rough where it's like, did you wash your hands? Are your hands clean? And it's like grabbing, like it's like really rough. It's different characters, but it's reminiscent to like a Twin Peaks kind of scene.
So you just brought like a memory back to me. There's this movie called it's a Mexican horror movie called El Esqueleto de la Señora Morales. In English, it means The Skeleton of Mrs. Morales. It's a great movie. You can find it on YouTube for free. But in it, it's a black and white movie from like the 50s or 60s.
Oh,
In
cool.
it, the main character is a taxidermist, and he's a nice character. His wife like absolutely loathes him and like hates everything about him, and she's
Oh.
very religious or whatever. And when he comes home, well, actually, his office is in the basement of their huge home, and so he like I don't know taxidermies animals in their basement. And when he comes upstairs and goes to kiss her, she's like, "Did you wash your hands?" And he's like, "Oh, come on." And he's like, "With alcohol." So she makes him like
Yeah.
wash it with
Oh
alcohol. And he's
gosh.
like, "But then I just smell like alcohol all day." So
Hmm.
yeah, that's I
Oh
get that
wow, it sounds
from Twin
creepy.
Peaks. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely recommend if you haven't. Well, it sounds like you haven't, but it's a good movie. All right, so then the woman asks if the girl loves her. It's And the little girl says yes. Of course, she's going to say yes. It's a very weird vibe.
Mm-hmm.
As she's walking out, the mother notices the fork is missing, and she asks, "Where's your fork?" The
Mm.
daughter becomes very frightened and starts stammering, and she says, "It must be here somewhere." She drops to the floor and looks under the bed. We see the register for the air duct like swing open, and a very pale, like scarred arm produces the fork. And so, what were you thinking here when you saw this?
I was like, yay!
Okay.
Because that was neat. Yeah, because at this, like I said, I didn't really know anything about this movie at all.
Okay.
So,
You're like, oh, they are
the
actually living, in the walls. I never
yeah,
seen it.
yeah, the fact that someone popped out of a wall and is helping her, that's a good jam for me. Yeah, that was fun. I was excited by that. Because I mean it also means that she's not alone.
Right,
Because, I
right.
was very uncomfortable by that. I made very uncomfortable by that scene.
With the mom, yeah,
With the
definitely.
mom, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's she's creepy as hell, the mom.
yeah.
Woman.
So like instead of screaming, which you would think anybody in that situation would do, the
Yeah.
daughter grabs a fork and like pats the arm as if to say thank you, and then it goes back into the wall.
Mhm.
She stands up and gives the fork back to her mom. As she does so, the father walks in and drops the N bomb and says that the store has been robbed by some N words. Okay, so this dude like needs to die like right away.
Yeah, like it's pretty clear.
Yeah,
Pretty
and
clear right
now
off the
I'm just
bat.
waiting to see how bad his death is going to be.
Damn.
So over his shoulder on the wall, I don't know if you noticed this, is a hand embroidered sign that nowadays you'd see saying something like "I'm all out of fucks to give" or something like it's not it's not a whorehouse, it's a whore home
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
But this one says children should be seen, not heard.
Yep, I did notice that.
There's a lot going on in this scene right
There
now.
was, yeah, I think that was the first time where I was like, okay, yeah, we're starting to get the like see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil kind of theme that runs throughout.
Yeah, so the mom says, "May they burn in hell,"
Which
which is an
she
eight.
says 8,000 times.
That's like
Oh my
her.
god. That's her thing. She
Yeah,
loves she loves thinking about people burning in hell. She loves it.
but it's funny. It's like these type of people because she represents a very like if we're talking about messaging in the movie,
Mhm.
and I think I have somewhere later on in the script about this, but I think they represent like Nancy and Ronald Reagan, like
Okay.
this '80s like sensibility, and this like conservatism that
Mhm.
runs throughout America still to this day. And these type of people will say that they say, "May they burn in hell," but they never stop to think all the terrible things that they're doing that would have
No,
them burn in
yeah.
hell
Yeah, absolutely.
if
And
hell were a real place.
unquestionably, yeah, right. And I mean, without question, the things that they are doing are way worse than just people existing while being poor.
Yeah,
So, like kidnapped children that you have
yeah.
mutilated and cannibalized. And, yeah, but God bless.
Then the dad says he's very tense about the situation, which brings a smile to mom's to the woman's face, and she asks if he has a headache. And then she tells him that Alice has been very bad. She's been feeding that thing in the walls again. So now we know why the fork
Mm,
was in the walls because she's been giving the person in the walls
yeah,
some food.
she's
So we
yeah.
know that Alice is a good person, which is good because if the whole family had been terrible, I don't think I could have taken the movie as much as this.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the difference between like that and what's it, the Firefly family, like Devil's Rejects
Yeah,
or whatever. You gotta have at least one person who's not a monster.
yeah. Or like the family from Texas Chainsaw, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
Rob
there you
Zombie.
go.
Just
Yeah,
yeah.
uh-huh.
So all right. Then from outside the room, in the walls, we hear like a sad groaning. And like the mom says, remember not to bruise her face as she walks out. So there's
Ah,
child abuse and
yeah, for
perhaps
sure.
incest.
Yeah.
I mean, these people are absolute monsters.
Yeah, yeah, they're
And we
not
haven't
fun
even
people to
really
watch.
got into like the thick
Yeah,
of it with
no,
them.
it gets so much worse. Like they like on the surface they're bad people, but unfortunately we don't stay on the surface.
Yeah.
It gets so much deeper.
So the whole time, Alice looks worried, so worried. She looks like a deer in headlights, and you just feel for this child. And the mom leaves, and the dad removes his belt and says, "Bad girls burn in hell." Okay, okay, dude.
Whatever.
So later, Leroy and his partner are casing the house, and we see our first look at this enormous house, but it's run down on the outside. It
So
looks like,
great.
yeah. Leroy
It's like
says
a
that,
fun house.
yeah, and also I was gonna say I have something here about the house. So the house interiors were also used for filming of Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and then the exteriors and the interiors were used for various other horror movies and TV shows. So it's
It
it's
did.
it's like a famous house.
Oh, okay. It did give me like kind of House of Leaves vibes where it's like there's no way everything that could have been happening in that house could have happened in that house because it wasn't big enough to contain all of the like hidden chambers and whatnot. But I mean, I love that was probably one of my favorite like surprises too about was just the coolness of the house.
It's kind of like I did Evil Dead last week with somebody, and it was like that
Nice.
house.
Yeah.
The layout was impossible, and also there was no actual cellar in the house that they
Yeah.
were filming in. So
Yeah.
it's like, but movie magic, we'll
That
say.
stuff's fun. Like that's there you can say that with The Shining too. Like there's a lot of impossible hallways and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah. So Leroy says that Fool is going in for some reconnaissance. He's dressed up in a Boy Scouts uniform, pretending to be selling cookies, but he looks so small, and the house looks so massive. It's like these really great shots of it. It looks great.
Yeah. No, it's good stuff.
And he knocks on the door, and as he does, the mail slot swings open, and we hear someone like take a big sniff like a dog would, but it's not a dog. Uh,
No.
and then we hear some more shuffling, and the light above him flickers. Still no one answers, so Fool goes around the side to check if anyone is home. He makes it around back and doesn't see anyone. Then he walks over to a pond that's in the back and starts playing in there, like skipping rocks and stuff. He then sees a reflection of a little girl looking at him from upstairs, but he looks up and she's gone. Then the woman appears out of nowhere and says, "May I help you?" Fool says he's selling cookies,
Or was
but
it
the
may I help you?
yeah, which
Like
is funny because I typed it HALP, and I was like, "Why did I do that?" And I'm like, "Oh, now I know
help
why."
you?
Yeah,
Yeah. She's so great. She's such a great character actress.
she reminds me of. Have you ever seen Young Frankenstein?
Yeah, yeah.
Frau Blucher.
Oh, right, like Cloris Leachman. Yeah. Ovaltine, perhaps. Glass of warm milk. Yeah, no, it's a great movie.
So Fool says he's selling cookies, but the woman says they watch what they eat very carefully in this house. Fool really sells it, saying, it's for cerebral palsy. But again, she says no. He then asks if he can use her washroom, but she's shooing him away as she says no a third time, closing the door on him. He says, "All right," like playing up the guilt trip card, but then she leaves. And he looks at all the windows with the heavy wire and the padlocks on the outside on each. And I never thought about that until like we're watching it for the show. Like, of course, if you're protecting if you don't want people coming in, you'd have padlocks on the inside. But if you don't want people going out, you have padlocks on the outside, and that's very fucking creepy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The windows and stuff were very disturbing. Like especially when later in the movie when they really try to like get out and can't. Like, yeah, that was very creepy.
So later, they're back in the van talking about what Fool just saw. The third person is named Spencer, but he's not satisfied with the intel that Fool got, so he says he's going in. He needs to know what kind of security system they have for when they come back in a couple of days to do the actual job. Leroy tells him no, let's stick to the plan, but Spencer disagrees and pulls the van over. He goes back to the house in a gas utility worker's outfit. He walks in the back, and the woman opens the door and asks, "How could she help him?" He says there's been an emergency in the area, and he needs to check her meter. She says he passed it outside already. He quickly says, "Oh, well, we have that one already. We need to see the one inside the house." She smiles an annoying smile and says, "There's none in the house." I'm quite sure of that. He says, "You're probably not even aware of it, ma'am." He says, "It's on the master list, and he does need to see it." And this is when she notices a skull ring on him and asks for identification. He produces it and says, "The fact of the matter is, he does have the legal right to see it, and he can call the cops if need be." So this perks her attention. She opens the door and says, "There have been robberies lately. The neighborhood is changing." And I'm like, "Can you hear that dog whistle?"
Hmm. Yeah,
Like
right.
yeah,
It's changing.
yeah. And she lets him in. She quickly closes the door and checks if anybody saw Spencer enter. Back at the van, Fool and Leroy are talking, and Leroy is worried that Spencer is trying to take the coins for himself. They then see the woman leave the house in her car, and they can't believe that she'd leave him alone in there. And I'm thinking this feels a bit like the beginning of Halloween. Have you seen Halloween,
Mm.
the original?
I have. It's been a bunch of years. Definitely not my
Okay.
favorite franchise.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
I'm
Jessica, I'm in a room filled with Halloween
sorry.
merchandise. I have Halloween tattoos.
I
Dropping a
also
bombshell in the middle of our recording. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Thank you for joining, folks.
I I worked at a haunted house where I was in a Halloween themed scene, like
Okay.
where the haunted hayride came by, and it was traumatizing to say the least because the guy who played Michael took it way too
Okay.
seriously.
Yeah.
Like every time that music started, I swear to God, he was like a walking Michael Boner. Just like, what?
Yeah.
I'm an amazing actor. I don't need to do anything but walk slowly. And like, meanwhile, I'm like in scrubs, being like, "Oh, he's gonna kill me! Someone help me!" It was dumb.
I,
But
I don't know. I don't know what the problem is. This sounds awesome.
yeah, it was better when I got to work in the actual haunted house. The hayride
Okay.
part
Yeah,
was
you've had
torturous.
some great jobs, like
I've
working at
had
a
a lot of
VHS
great
store,
jobs.
working at a haunted house. Like you're like
I've
the
had
Forrest Gump of our times.
My first job was a movie theater, so like I started off good. I've
Wow,
been
that's
I've been
awesome.
uh I've been a stripper. I've worked in molecular diagnostics. I
So
I've,
you were a stripping scientist for a while.
I not at the same time, but
Okay,
I've been both.
that's awesome.
I've been both. I've had lots of fun jobs. I've been a creative writing teacher. I've taught Lego robotics.
That's
anything
awesome.
to anything to keep pay the bills and stuff while I write and make art.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah.
Well, the reason why I brought up Halloween is because in the beginning of the movie, when he's killed, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Halloween, when he's killing his daughter, oh, sorry, when he's killing his, oh, sorry, when he's killing his sister,
Okay.
she goes upstairs with her boyfriend to have sex, but they're only upstairs for like literally like 7 or 8 seconds, and then
Well,
they have sex,
they
and
were
then yeah,
teenagers.
yeah, exactly. Okay,
I mean, that's all you need when you're a teenager.
I mean that doesn't even account for like the time to get to the bed,
No,
unzip,
they just
whatever.
fell onto the bed like together, and that was
Yeah,
it.
and that was
Dunzo.
it.
And then
And
time
then
to die.
and then he leaves. So that's
Yeah.
what I was saying. Like with this, it doesn't feel like Spencer was in there long enough for her to do anything to him, and then
Yeah.
also leave. But
Yeah.
I digress.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I find that I talk about Halloween in nearly every episode that I do, so I need to stop doing that.
Hey.
But
No. Hey.
I'm a bit obsessed.
Talk about what you like. I'm
All
into
right.
it. That's fine.
So they can't believe that they've left him alone in there. So maybe he's looking around a bit. Leroy says, "Yeah, and maybe the president is going to make me secretary of pussy," which is a
Which
absolutely great line.
I was offended by that because I felt like it should have been like, prime minister of pussy or like secretary of snatch.
Wow.
I needed. I feel like there should have been alliteration, but that's just me. I felt like Prime Minister of Pussy sounds like very official, but Secretary of Snatch, Secretary of Sniz, like so many options. Felt a little lazy to me.
I'm so glad that I had you on the show here so that we could talk about the different names
Yeah.
for for the
I could
female
go. I
reproductive
could go
organ.
off.
So I know you know Max, and
hmm
I know you've been in a couple of his anthologies. Do you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I've no. Yeah.
he used to be in this troupe of writers called,
Nice.
and they would just write these bullshit, 10-20 page short stories and sell them on Amazon before Amazon made it like you needed to be a certain amount of pages to
Oh.
sell.
Uh huh.
And they would just sell
Yeah.
these like erotic bullshit stories. And his pen name was Felicia Penetravos.
That's amazing.
It's a great name. And
That's great.
for one of Max had a show at a coffee shop here in town, and he asked me to go on it and have a little reading, but I am not a writer, so I was like, what am I going to do? So I looked up old
Oh no.
erotic stuff, and I read 2 or 3 paragraphs of it, but I put my own spin on it and I made it Simpsons fanfic. I even forget why I brought this is off the rails,
Yeah.
Jessica. We are off the rails completely here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We were talking about like Max and like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Oh yeah, the Secretary of Pussy. Oh, that's what
Yeah,
it was. Okay.
Secretary of Pussy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
So
mean, when you think of pussy, you think of Max. So
there's the byline for the episode right there.
yeah.
So they drive the van into the driveway, and Leroy grabs a crowbar and breaks the window. And then they're in the back porch of the house. Fool sees a doll on the floor that looks similar to Spencer, and it's in like a rat trap, and the arm is all bloodied. This makes him realize that this is a dumb idea, and he tells Leroy they should leave. Since it's his 13th birthday, it might be unlucky. Leroy says, your whole 13th year is unlucky. What does he say? Too old to get tit, too young to get ass.
What? What does
Yeah,
that mean?
I guess like too old to be breastfeeding, or be breastfeeding,
Okay.
but
Got
too young to
it.
have
Yeah,
sex.
yeah,
Leroy's got
okay.
these
Got it.
one-liners,
Yeah, no, he's on it.
but
He's a
again,
class
no.
act. Also, by the way, like good on him wearing the most conspicuous outfit ever to like rob a home. Like he is
Yeah,
wearing really bold. I mean, I know it's a cultural, thing he's wearing, but maybe not for a robbery.
right. Like there's a reason why people wear all black for
Yeah,
robberies.
yeah, maybe not.
But also, they weren't supposed to go in though. It's Spencer's
Yeah,
dumb
that's
idea.
true. But
He
still, you're
got
just
caught up
sitting
there.
in the car outside of the robbery.
Yeah, and that's the other
Even
thing.
like,
He was wearing like a leather dashiki hat or something
yeah.
that looked really cool on him, but would look horrible on me. So
I
like
mean, to be
he's
fair,
pulling it
like
off.
most of the things that Ving Rhames can wear, none of us are ever
Yeah.
able to pull off. Like they are made solely for Ving Rhames.
Have you ever seen Baby Boy?
No.
Oh, it's with Ving Rhames and what's that guy's name? Tyrese and
Oh.
Snoop Dogg's in it as the villain. It's amazing. But Ving Rhames is so fucking funny in that movie. Yeah, it's not a horror movie. It's like a hood movie, like Menace to Society or something
Oh,
like that.
okay.
But
Uh huh.
but it didn't have the best story. So a lot of it is just funny. So, but anyway, Ving
Oh.
Rhames is in it, and he's rocking like he's just walking around with his like dick out, and it's and not actually you don't see it, but
Yeah.
if you have the confidence of Ving Rhames, you can wear anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Suddenly Rhames.
suddenly Ving Rhames. This next door looks to be like impenetrable. It's like a steel door, and then we see the Spencer doll dragged by a fishing line back into the house. So at this point, I'm thinking maybe we should get the fuck out of here. And
Yeah.
Fool is very nervous. He asks Leroy if he thinks he can be a doctor one day, and Leroy says, "Yeah, doctor of burglary." I'm like, "Don't kill this kid's dreams, asshole. Just because your dreams were killed."
Oh my god. Yeah.
But Leroy is able to get the steel door open, and when he does, the steel that was blocking the windows also opens up. So like this is a tightly, it's almost like a prison. Well,
Hmm.
it is a prison.
It
We'll
is
come
a
to find out.
prison. It is
Yeah,
100% a prison.
they're finally in the house proper, and Leroy says, "I done busted this house's cherry," and he thinks he's so cool.
It's
And as
like
he
unnecessarily like, if I haven't adequately displayed yet that I like ladies.
I feel like he's putting on a show for
Yeah,
Fool.
yeah.
So he turns around to enter, but as he does so, he's attacked by the guard dog, a Doberman Pinscher, and he
Oh.
is biting the shit out of Leroy.
Yeah, yeah.
But Fool steps up and distracts him by saying, it's such an innocent burn, like so funny. It's like, "Your mama sleeps with cats."
Yeah.
It's like, okay, go on with your cute self.
I love
Uh,
that.
Yeah, so the dog then lunges at Fool, but he ducks out of the way and closes the door on him, buying himself precious moments to get into the house and close the door behind him. They now look around the room, noting that there are locks on all the cabinets. And Fool notices a statue with a monkey, like you said earlier, that says, "See no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil." And that's going to come into play a lot throughout the movie. There's a pile of dead flies on the windowsill, which looks disgusting.
Yeah.
They then hear something rustling in the ducts, and Leroy says, "Nice to know the rich folks got rats too." Those ain't rats, Leroy.
It's Roach.
It's Roach. Which is funny because I didn't even think about it, but this duct comes into play later on in the movie. So Fool wants to leave, but Leroy wants to find Spencer and the gold coins. Then they hear noises coming from upstairs, so Leroy goes to investigate. And it's kind of funny, like these gold coins. I watched Leprechaun, the first one with
Hmm.
Jennifer Aniston, like
Uh-huh.
a couple days ago for the podcast, and I don't know if you ever saw it, but obviously everybody knows leprechauns love their gold, and it's in like a sack, and it was very reminded me of this. Like
Yeah.
they want that gold, and it's all they can see, and they're willing to do anything
Yeah.
for it.
I mean, yeah, the personification of like or just like just gold coins is like that being riches when like even in the 90s when this came out. I mean, no one's paying with doubloons. Like, it's like this isn't the Goonies. Like, why all these people have just like gold coins chilling like, Scrooge McDuck. I have no idea.
Yeah, I feel like in the 80s and 90s, and it could be
That
with
was
that
just a thing.
culture, that was the thing. Like
Yeah. I think
people were
because it's
obsessed
like
with coins.
I mean that's the smallest denomination basically where you can show a vast amount of money, I guess, piled all up gold coins. Otherwise it's just like, just some bills stacked. Like there you go. Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah, it's not as impressive if
It's like a bunch
Scrooge
of gold
McDuck
coins.
was like swimming in paper money versus
Yeah,
coins, you know?
just getting like, paper cuts and stuff.
Yeah, although like if he were to really jump into like
No,
a pile of money, he would knock himself
you would
out.
break all your bones.
So they walk into the foyer and up the stairs. They hear a clock chiming, and they both get scared. And I don't know if you noticed, like Leroy gets really scared, but he tries to play it off. And I feel like this is the Leroy, the true Leroy.
Hmm.
But he quickly like tries to play it off, and like makes fun of Fool for getting scared, and then he tells
Yeah.
Leroy
I
to
was going to
stay
say,
down.
does he do something misogynist?
Yeah,
Probably.
yeah, something like that. And he tells Fool to stay downstairs, and Fool like marvels at how big the living room is.
Hmm.
He's like a bunch of families can stay in this room or something like that.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that's so sad.
Yeah. So he hears a noise downstairs and goes to the basement door to see what it is. And he looks through the peephole. He notices Spencer's clipboard and lighter. So he opens the door and descends to the steps to check it out. Okay, so I don't know if you know this, but these steps have the backs to them. And I have a campaign right now where whenever I see a movie that has steps leading downstairs with no backs.
Okay.
I hate that because it's so dangerous.
Yeah.
Because whenever you see that, that later on in the movie,
Someone's gonna
someone's gonna reach through
yeah.
there.
Uh-huh. Ear.
I
Or
hate
the
it. I hate it.
worst, knife. Shot. The
I wasn't
knife
even
is
thinking about a knife.
the
Jessica, come
knife
on.
is the worst in the grabbing is the Achilles. Dunzo.
Okay, well,
Dunzo.
thank you for adding to my trauma. I appreciate that. No,
Sorry.
that's
But
that's okay.
these stairs are very important why they don't have backs.
Yeah, they
Because
do. They do. And it's
because
going
they
to come
are
up,
transforma stairs.
which is really cool. I don't think I've seen that in a
It's
movie.
great.
So
This house of horrors. It's like my favorite. It's a great fun house. Why they don't have it at Disney World? Escapes me. I have no idea.
So I was reading that I think it's Universal Studios has parts of this house in their haunts. I don't know
Really?
which.
That's
Yeah,
rad.
I
I
don't know
didn't know
which parts
that.
it is. Yeah, and
That's
I've never
really
been
cool.
Universal.
I mean,
I think
it's really a great set and house. I mean, the little like the electric panels and everything. I loved it. I would love to live
yeah,
there.
inside the stairs, like inside
And
the
not
walls, is crazy.
kidnap people. Just like, live there as a normal human being.
I don't know if I could live. For example, like the owners of the house after this movie. Like, how do you live there knowing that what happened in that house happened in that house? You'd
You
have no
know.
problem with it, huh?
Nah, I just, take my slide down my wine cellar and I'd be good.
You could open it as an attraction around Halloween, like make
Yeah,
some
no,
extra
yeah,
money.
that'd be great. That'd be great.
Hell yeah,
I
that'd
love
be
it.
awesome. He grabs Spencer's stuff and he calls out for him, and he hears some moaning. And I love this part. Do you remember what happens here?
Is this like right by the cage?
No, so he runs back upstairs and says, "I ain't stupid." But
Oh.
yeah, but as he reaches the top, he stops, and in his best like Leroy voice, he says, "Or maybe you're just too chicken shit for this kind of work."
Oh yeah, that's
So you
right.
see that like he is smart. He's
He's
not the
taking
fool.
it on, but
Yeah,
like
Leroy,
it's
that
gotten to
toxic
him.
masculinity stuff.
Yep.
So he turns around. Like I was saying, I think this is brilliant. It shows he's not stupid. He just wants
Mhm.
the money so bad he's willing to do anything for it.
Yep. Yep.
Suddenly, we see a string attached to the door and it shuts behind him. Fool calls out for Spencer but doesn't see anything. He uses the lighter as a light source and investigates the basement. It's a very spooky basement filled with like boxes and leaky pipes. Like the set design, like you were saying, is amazing.
Yeah.
I
It's
love
good
it.
stuff.
Then someone flashes a light in his eyes and then they disappear around the corner. Fool, thinking it's Spencer, follows the man. We hear what sounds like an old timey movie or TV show playing in the background. He follows the sound to a shelf that has a TV
Oh
on,
yeah.
but the TV is faced inward into the
Right.
wall, into like the grates. And so
Uh-huh.
he pulls it away. He's using the lighter to see inside the register, and he's calling for Spencer. Then there's like big whoosh of wind and dust, which blows the lighter out and throws Full back. And I don't know if you noticed on the TV there was footage from the Iraq War.
Oh yeah, I
So
didn't
it kind
notice.
of it kind of times it tells us when this
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
yeah, early 90s sort of thing.
Yep. The 90s.
So scared, Full attempts to run back up the stairs, but he's lost, and he keeps seeing the light from the flashlight behind the walls, and he's hearing moans and groans. It's all very like the sound design is great as well. And finally, he sees Spencer's body on the floor, and when he goes to check if he's alive or not, he sees a gold coin in Spencer's pale, dead hand, which he promptly takes. And I was going to say here, the coin that Fool pulls out of Spencer's hand is real. It is
Mhm.
known as an American Gold Eagle and contains 1 ounce of 22 karat gold. It would have been worth approximately $708 in 1991. And then I did the math. That would be $1,425 in today's money.
Dang, or a sack full of one-eyed willies
Yeah,
doubloons.
hell yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing actually. I like that conversion there. Good to
Yeah.
know. I would have stolen that from my mama too.
hell yeah.
Just one?
And later,
Just
yeah,
one?
and later, I think with one, I would have been like, all right, cool, we're
You're
done.
like, we're
You know?
good. We got the surgery money. Let's
Yeah.
go.
At least a down payment on it or something like that.
Yeah, come on.
Which we didn't talk about, but like the horror of this woman dying because she can't afford the surgery that
Yeah,
is it, so what it sounded like. Leroy said that the surgery was 100%, or I should say the cancer was 100% curable with the surgery that she couldn't afford. So that sounds
right.
terrible, and that's talking about the state of the healthcare industry in America at the time,
100%.
and still right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. 100%.
So slowly, the thing making the noise starts dragging Spencer's body behind the wall with them. And Fool says, "You can't take him," and tries to stop it, but he notices Spencer's hand is all cut up and bloodied, and he also sees the ring still on it. He then hears noise behind him, and he sees a human reach through the register, which he was just at, and he pulls that TV back
Yeah.
in front of the register so he could see from inside the wall. So I try to put myself in this kid's situation. Like, it's horrible. Like, what would I do? Like, you're not friend, but the person that you're working with is dead on the ground. Somebody just tried to drag him through a wall. Another person is in the wall there watching TV. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what? There's a lot of shit happening here.
I mean, I'll be honest, like I forgot Spencer was a person until he was dead. Because he was introduced so late, we're just like, and here's Spencer. So I kind of like, I was like, oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, he was only in it for one scene, and then he's dead.
But I did like his. I thought that his portrayal of the gas meter was very authentic. I just forgot he existed till he was
Yeah.
dead.
Well, it was too authentic. It got him killed.
I mean the whole setup there with the like everyone reaching out and but also they watch TV, so that suggests intelligence or at least
Right.
a desire to be entertained. So I mean, there's a lot of story that opens up at this point, I think.
Yeah. So as he's seeing this, Fool is attacked. A man jumps on his back and is moaning and groaning in his ear. As Fool like whirls around trying to get him off. They tussle for a bit, but he's able to throw the man from his back. He books it for the stairs and makes it to the top. But as he does, like you were saying, the stairs convert into a slide sort of situation, and he falls back down.
Love it.
Yeah, this is awesome, but also terrifying.
Oh yeah, no, it's awful. Like I would not want to be in that situation, but also I was like, wee.
Yeah, I would love to have it. I would hate for it to happen to me.
Yeah, super fun, happy slide. Yay.
So once Fool gets to the bottom of the now slide, he sees and hears multiple people down there with him. But one in particular is the man who jumped on his back, who will later on get to know as Roach. So he's groaning and looks ghostly sick and pale. And he runs at Fool, but Fool, in that like little kid athleticism that like I could never do right now, like runs up the ramp to the door and just
that was pretty amazing. He just he must have had some really good sneakers.
Yeah, he's like American Ninja.
Yeah, seriously, he just powered up that thing and had no problem really with it all that much. Yeah. So good on Fool.
Yeah. So he's pounding on the door and he looks behind him and the man is advancing. Suddenly the door swings open and the daughter is there. They lock eyes and then she runs off, but Fool runs through the door and is still being attacked by the man who's like grabbing him. And from what we know from Roach later on, do you think he's trying to help him here or hurt him?
I think Roach is always on the side of whatever is gonna hurt the man and woman. Okay. I think he's always like, I think he's trying to help, but he's probably scared. He doesn't, it's
he can't communicate.
Yeah.
So the man's grabbing at him, or Roach is grabbing at him, and Fool beats Roach back and closes the door on him. He then promptly locks the door. And then he looks for the girl, but he can't find her. He hears a car approaching and looks outside and sees that the owners have arrived. Outside, the mom and dad are looking at Spencer's van. Fool runs upstairs to warn Leroy and finds him at the end of the hallway on the ground with his head in the vents. Leroy and we as the audience think he's dead, but when he touches him, Leroy screams and says he scared him. Leroy says a man ain't dead just because he's on the ground, which sounds deep, but like, what the hell does that
Like
even
he
mean?
looked at, like he was just laying on the ground with his head in the vent. Like, I think that's assuming someone is dead is not a far reach. Like, what are you doing laying on the ground with your head in a vent, sir?
Yeah, it's not. It's like he thinks he's dropping knowledge, and he's like, not
Yeah,
really.
and he's like, yeah, that's not really a profound sentiment.
Yeah. So then he says there's something in the walls, and that Fool should go and look. Fool refuses and says Leroy is going to end up dead just like Spencer. He then says that the owners are back, and again he tells Leroy that Spencer's dead, and Leroy says, "Are you sure?" And Fool says, "If you thought he was white before, you should see that sucker now." Which Fool has some great one-liners in there too,
Yeah.
but his one-liners
Yeah.
aren't like masochistic or like
Yeah, they're just like, good one-liners. They're not just
yeah,
like sexist for
yeah.
sexist sake or, just dumb.
So they run downstairs and try to exit out the back door, but the owners are there, so they try the front door. Fool runs to the front and grabs the doorknob and is promptly shocked with who knows how many volts of electricity and falls to
Oh
the
my
floor.
God.
I know I was supposed
Yeah.
to feel sorry for him, but this looks kind of funny.
Yeah, this is the moment where I was like, oh, it's reverse Home Alone. Got it.
Yeah. I wonder which one came out first, Home Alone or People Under the Stairs?
Whoa. That's a good question. They're probably around the same. For some reason, I feel like Home Alone was 90 and we said this was 91.
Yeah, so Home Alone came out a year before.
But I'm not sure that Home Alone is 90. That's just what my core tells me.
I looked it up right now, yeah, and it says 1990.
Oh my God, I was right.
Yeah,
Yay!
you are a witch.
Only when it comes to just identifying like weird 90s trivia.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast that I really love, and they were talking about like their most useless talents.
Yeah.
And one of the host's talent was that he was able to flip to whatever page he needed to flip to in a book the first time. So if he needed to get to page 249, and
that's
I'm
great,
like, okay, that is
though.
completely useless. But yeah, like if
I
you're
can
reading a
always
book,
identify people that were in episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Or Frasier. Or Frasier. Years later, I'll see someone and I'll just be like, they were on such and such episode of Frasier where someone had a baby in a taxi cab.
you're like that's Daphne's brother or something.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my terrible talent.
That's awesome. So Fool falls to the floor, and Leroy barely registers this. He doesn't check on Fool to see if he's okay. He just starts trying to break the front window.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
Leroy's Leroy.
Yeah.
He was never trying to front who he was. He was always straight up. He was always straight up. He was a piece of shit.
Ving Rhames is Ving Rhames, you know?
Yeah. When you just suddenly happen. Like that.
In the back, the father is breaking the door down just enough so that the dog can get in. And Leroy grabs Fool up and sets him in the middle of the room and says, "Don't move." And he's using Fool as bait so he can hit the dog when he's not looking. Fool protests, but Leroy tells him to shut up and do it.
I forgot about all the dog stuff.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was the dog is a bad guy. So, I mean, you can excuse some of the dog stuff because it's a bad guy.
Yeah, well, I would say there's no bad dogs, just bad owners.
I know, but the dog is playing a character of a bad dog.
Okay.
That's what makes it okay.
You know, I love dogs, but apparently Jessica McHugh hates dogs. So we're just going to go ahead and say that.
No. It's not true.
No, I'm just kidding.
I was super sensitive to this because I had just watched Midnight Mass and like there was a dog scene in there that like destroyed me. So when I watched this, I was like, I was very upset. But then I kept telling myself he's a bad dog.
Yeah, he's a bad dog in this. Okay, so The dog finally squeezes through the door and gets to the living room, but he doesn't attack Fool immediately. He waits for Leroy to pop his head up and then attacks Leroy, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, yeah, because it's complete. Like they had this great. Leroy had a plan, but like it did not work at all. Like even none of the plan went to plan, and he's just like,
Yeah.
"What's happening with the plan?" And the dog's like, "Hey," it just attacks him.
The
So
dog's
yeah,
like,
no, I
I
liked
know
it.
you're here. I see you. What do you?
Your
Yeah.
plan is dumb. I'm hungry.
But again, it's up to Fool to help. Thinking quickly, he grabs Leroy and drags him to the door, all the while the dog is biting the shit out of Leroy's arm. And I can only imagine how painful that is. But
Yeah,
finally,
no.
Fool gets close enough to the doorknob and grabs it again. This time, holding onto it for a couple more seconds. And the current travels through Fool, through Leroy, and to the dog, which shocks
Right.
him as well. And he lets go of Leroy. This is absolutely hilarious. I love
Yeah.
this.
That is just a weird madcap thing to happen. I also love that yeah, because that was like Fool's idea, right? We just gotta link up,
Yeah.
and that's it. I mean, that's using science.
And that you know what kind of movie you're watching now. You're like, oh shit, I'm
Yeah.
gonna see some crazy shit, but I'm
Yep.
also gonna see some funny shit. You know?
Yep. Yeah. No. 100%. And I wish that it had been sold that way because I really don't think that when the trailers and stuff came out, it was sold as horror comedy.
Yeah, and I know though, like growing up, we didn't know, what director did what or whatever. But like
Hmm.
now, looking back, Wes Craven, he did Nightmare on Elm Street, and he did Scream, and we hadn't done Scream yet,
Yeah.
but like he did Shocker. He has like this through line of comedy
Oh
or
man, I did
comedic
not find
elements.
anything funny about Nightmare on Elm Street. There
Well, the
is
original
nothing
one,
fun.
okay.
There's nothing funny about that. That is terrifying. I don't. I'm okay. The long arms thing is
The
kind
long
of like
arms,
funny,
yeah,
but I mean, there's some stuff that's funny, but no, mostly that shit is terrifying. What the hell?
yeah.
Those were like you just sat down with a list and was like, how do you torture people the most, and like
Mhm.
hit everything, which is brilliant. But yeah, they're not funny about that.
So the man manages to break the door down, and Fool and Leroy head upstairs to try to hide. The woman says, "Get in there, Daddy. Uh,
Yeah,
make it
yeah, she
safe for
does.
make it safe for mommy." I don't like that at
I
all. I
don't
mean,
like it. I
no
don't
kink
like it.
shaming, but not
I know,
this
but no,
couple.
you can kink shame these evil people.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think I
exactly.
think this is the one situation when it's fine.
Upstairs, Leroy tries kicking the windows out, but to no avail. This is like what you were saying earlier. It's like
Right? Yeah.
they couldn't break out because the padlocks are outside. So he even hurts his foot on it.
Hmm.
So back in the foyer, the man says the people under the stairs got the so-called gas man.
Hey, that's the
And
name of the movie.
I always love it. I was going to say when the name of the movie comes up in the movie, I
It's the
love it.
best. It's one of my favorite things ever.
You're like that meme of Leonardo
Hey.
DiCaprio.
Yeah.
Hey. He pulls out his gun, and the woman is kind of stroking her dog, who we find out the name is Prince. Fool says they can hide under the bed, but Leroy says no and goes to hide in the closet. And when Fool tries to go in with him, Leroy just
He's like,
pushes him out and
nope.
says, "Find your
Like,
own."
yeah. Yeah, he's not emotionally invested in this kid at all.
Keep in mind, Leroy is probably what 30, 40 years old, and Fool is a 13-year-old child, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Sorry, bro, go find your
Yeah,
own."
no one helped me when I was a 13-year-old being recruited by a 40-year-old man, weirdly, for doubloons.
But Fool had just like saved his life like
Yeah.
30
No,
seconds
he
earlier.
doesn't care, though. He don't
Yeah.
care. You know how many 13-year-olds have grifted him? This
That's
is why
true.
he became such a hard case.
He's a hardened criminal.
Yeah. We don't know anything about Leroy except that he's a dick and also a bigger dick.
Yeah. His name might not even be Leroy. We don't even know.
No, it's probably not.
Yeah. Um,
Probably Poindexter.
yeah. So we have a couple villains on our hand here. Like,
Yeah.
Fool is like fighting
Yeah.
against the couple and also against Leroy. He's just not,
Against Leroy. I
he's
mean, yeah, and the situation in itself is its own villain, the circumstance, and
yeah,
the yeah, basically his station is a villain as well, like the landlord and all that kind of stuff. So he's
yeah.
basically up against a complete like a whole bunch of enemies, and at this point he doesn't even know that he's got help in the wings yet.
Right, right. Which I really like that ending, and I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah.
So just then, the man flips a switch downstairs, which closes and
So
locks
many
all the doors and
switches.
windows. It looks awesome.
It's the coolest. Like, I want to know about the contractors that they had to pay so much hush money for this horrible house of horrors that was wired and like built to entrap the neighborhood children.
Oh no, I think it's like the Egyptians when they were building the pyramids for their kings. After they built them and they built these tombs or whatever, they'd have to kill all the workers so that nobody could know
Okay.
how to get in there. I think that's what they did. I think they
Or
killed the
maybe they are
workers.
the workers are down there all mutilated. Who knows?
Oh, okay, yeah, exactly.
Just collecting them.
So now, so he flipped the switch. All the doors and all the windows closed. Now, Fool has nowhere to hide. The man is in the hallway with a flashlight looking for them, and he passes the closet that Leroy is in. But as he does, the man that attacked Fool earlier downstairs, so we know as Roach, reaches through the register and grabs at Leroy, which scares him and makes him break through the closet door and try to run away. So, like I asked you earlier, I think Roach was trying to help in this situation,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Leroy, he got scared. He couldn't figure out what was happening,
Hmm.
and so he got shot.
Yeah.
So the man sees Leroy and shoots him 3 times in the chest. As he's shot, Leroy screams out, "Run, fool!" And Leroy's body drops down the stairs. And this was very disturbing. What happens next is they both like yeehaw and start yelling in excitement,
Oh
and
yeah. Yeah.
and then they say, "Did you see that? He came at me like a bull." And then he says, "Like a big one." The woman says. So this is more dog whistle racism here.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of describe for the listeners, if you don't know, what a bull means. And I took this from Wikipedia. According to popular stereotypes, during the post-Reconstruction era, a black buck or a bull was a black man, usually muscular or tall, who defies white will and is largely destructive to American society. Quote unquote, right? One would usually be hot-tempered, excessively violent, unintelligent, and sexually attracted to white women. This stereotype was used as a pretext for lynching and other forms of violence against black men. So
Wow.
when they say like a bull, that's what they mean there.
I did not know that. So now that's
Yeah,
interesting and terrible.
yeah. So I think that the brilliance of Wes Craven here is that he's not, they're not marching around in clan gear with
Right.
white hoodies or anything,
Hmm.
but the racism is there and it's present. It's on the surface and just beneath the surface of things they say, which I
And
think is great.
yeah, and absolutely. And then when you see them interact with people who approach the house to ask them questions, and like anybody, I mean, they're seemingly well respected, kind of unseeming, like, people that nothing possibly could be going on inside the house. So,
Right.
I mean, yeah, it just goes to show that, what's lurking beneath.
Yeah, and they're only respected pillars of the community because of their money, not because of
Right.
their
Exactly. Yeah.
actions.
Yeah.
Because
No,
their
no,
actions
no.
are
I mean, well,
terrible,
that's, well, money's all you need, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they start dancing around his corpse, and then he said, "Did you hear what he called me? He said, you're a fool. He's the fool." So at this point, they don't know about fool.
Right.
They just think that they call him a fool. Then she says, "The only good fool is a dead one." Again, a little bit of a dog
Yeah.
whistle
Yeah.
racism there. And I say these people are despicable here.
Yeah.
So he goes back upstairs to check if there's a mess. Fool finds a candle waiting for him, along with a doll that's dressed like him. Which we'll find out later that the daughter's making these. She's very quick with these because like it
Yeah,
was the
like she
same
just like
color
just
shirt.
bust out a doll, come on now. Girl, get yourself an Etsy.
Yeah, she's very talented. He grabs the candle, and the doll, which was attached to the string, is pulled back around the corner. He follows that doll, which is by a doggy door. He then sees the doll be pulled. I think this is what you were talking about. He sees the dog be pulled into the doggy door, and he quickly follows suit. As he enters the wall, we see a doggy bowl for Prince and like that dead
Hmm.
animal carcass from earlier, and it's all bloody and it
Hmm.
looks disgusting. Fool looks around for an exit and he sees the girl from earlier pulling the doll on a string towards her, beckoning Fool to follow. As he does, the man peeks his head through the register and he yells at Roach to get back down in the cellar, and he lets off a shit ton of rounds. But he didn't see Fool there, so he just thinks it's Roach.
Yeah.
So Fool makes it through the dog area and into another hallway, and that area is really cool. Like it's just I wish I could have something like that. It's just like a doggy area
Yeah.
for the dog
Like
to
you
go
just
from one
shit.
hallway to the other.
Yeah, it's the coolest. It reminds me a lot of watching this. Remind me of the book "Ritualistic Human Sacrifice" by C.V. Hunt, where like this married couple is living in a house that has a bunch of hidden chambers and hallways and stuff, and it's all related to like a cult kind of thing. So
That sounds
like
awesome.
yeah, no, it's a rad book. I mean, it's a real graphic and gross, but it's really cool. So like watching this, I was just like, "Oh, yeah, it's somewhere between Home Alone and Ritualistic Human Sacrifice."
I love the references.
Yeah.
So Fool tries all the doors in the hallway, but they're all locked except for one, the bathroom. He sees the girl in there. She looks frightened. She looks as frightened as he is. He introduces himself to her. He asks her if she's ever seen a brother before. She says she's never had a brother, which I thought was adorable.
Yeah, this was a cute kind of exchange.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he says, "No, a black dude. There's black dudes in this neighborhood." And she says, "Neighborhood?" It's like she's never heard the word.
Yeah.
So
She's never
he
been
says,
outside.
yeah, like outside," and she says she's never been outside, which is, I mean, terrible
Yeah,
to
like
hear, you know.
yeah, horrifying.
But this reminds me of there was a documentary made about this family. I think it was in New York. Of I think I don't know what religious sect they were in, but
Hmm.
they kept their family inside this apartment for years and years, and these children grew up having never been outside until finally they were like
Mm,
discovered by the world, and then they
mm.
went on like this tour. Have you heard of this?
No,
I
no.
need to watch a
I,
documentary, but
I I
it's
wrote a novel years ago that's not in print anymore that was definitely had like a girl that was 20 years never went outside, and that was kind of the thing. And I mean the reason she didn't go outside is a big spoiler, but it also just reminded me of like when I was a creative writing teacher where like every girl from like 11 to 13, like the first novel she tries to write is just a girl waking up in like a bed, and she's like in a place she doesn't recognize, she can't go outside, and she's been recruited for something very mysterious and important. And it's just like I feel like every girl, if she's a writer at one point, writes the i'm I'm confined to a place, but I must learn and become strong.
I wasn't aware of this phenomenon.
It's a great no, it's great. Like seriously, I've read it a million times as a creative writing teacher, and it always brought me joy
That's
because
awesome.
it's just like because it's a really good way to kind of it's a cliche to start a story that way, but it's also a
Yeah,
really good way to be like, okay, who is my character? What does she want? Why is she here? You probably shouldn't keep a beginning like that, but it's a good way to figure out who your character is.
yeah. She says you can't get out. No one ever has. And Fool says, "Well, I'm going to get out. I'm a whole nother thing," which I think is awesome.
It's a great line.
Uh, yeah, she says people have tried, and then he asks, like the people under the stairs, and she says
Mm.
yes. Fool asks, "Who are they?" And she says, "Mommy and Daddy looked for the longest time for the perfect boy child, but for one reason or another, it never worked. Some saw stuff they weren't supposed to, others heard too much, others
Mm.
talked back. Again, see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil."
Saw, heard, talked. Yep.
Yeah, and as she said this, she put her hand on each part of her body, like eyes,
Hmm.
ears, mouth, and that was very creepy, very well done. Then the man, she says, "Daddy cut out the bad parts and threw them down in the cellar." They get food and flashlights, so she supposes they're happy in their own way. I forgive her because she's a child and she doesn't know
Yeah, I
what she's
know,
saying.
but yeah, and she's traumatized.
Yeah, definitely.
So does that mean like she was the first girl, the first and only girl? What does that
Right.
say about like why are the boys so bad?
Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe they're just, I think later on we see that the wife, the woman, has been protective
Mhm.
over the daughter, and
Oh
so
yeah.
maybe
Okay.
like she's not as protective over the boys, and she's just like, fuck it, kill them.
Yeah.
You know, the moment there's
It's
any road bump.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So Fool asks about her. She says, "Why isn't she down there?" And she says, "She doesn't see, hear, or speak evil. It's the only way." So that she follows the rules,
Okay.
basically. All of a sudden, they hear yelling in the walls, and Alice says, "That's Roach. Daddy hates him because he got out of the cellar and lives in the walls now."
Hmm.
And I saw this bit of trivia in IMDb, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I thought it was hilarious. It says Hilary Swank auditioned for the role of Roach because
That's amazing.
he was originally written to be either male or female.
That would have been good too. I mean, I do like I mean, I always I call for the years I called him Peanut Butter Aaron Burr because he was in that commercial, like the Got Milk commercial, where it was like
Yeah,
he had peanut butter. He had a peanut butter sandwich. He couldn't say Aaron Burr. And he's like Aaron Burr. And he's like, wait a minute, I need some milk, and like and it's like so peanut butter Aaron Burr. Um,
yeah. So this movie was before those commercials, though, right?
I
I think so.
believe
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
I mean, I also remember I know he was in Jury Duty and like a whole bunch of like random 90s
yeah.
things. So like I definitely recognized him as a character actor. So
He's like
he was
definitely
nice.
90s.
I thought he was going to be scary, but he's like adorable in this movie. He's absolutely
Yeah,
adorable. I mean, he's traumatized to hell, but he's like a helpful little like roach or mouse or something. He's just like, "Hey, little guy, come here. This way. We can go this way."
and
He's cute.
not to compare him to a dog, but I would
No.
say that in the beginning of the movie, when his sister was telling him the tarot cards and all that, and there was that
Hmm.
one in the picture they depicted a dog, and that was just she said that was his helper or something to help him through,
Yeah, I
and I
mean,
think that's what Roach represents.
he has that kind of yeah, that kind of like cutesy helpful quality, like despite having tongue ripped out and being traumatized and stuff, all he is trying to help people get out of the house. So
Yeah,
he's a little emotional support roach.
yeah. So next we see that quote unquote daddy has changed into his leather daddy outfit, complete.
I don't want to. I don't want
com-
to talk about leather daddy. I don't want
complete.
to.
We have to get through this, Jessica.
I don't want to. Okay.
Uh, co- Complete with zippers and buckles and a
Uh,
shotgun.
yeah.
And he starts indiscriminately shooting holes in the wall.
He
Uh,
just doesn't care, does he?
he doesn't
He's just
care.
like, I'm just gonna shoot up my house. Like you put so much work into it.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out that it's like they inherited the house, so they don't
Well,
probably
yeah,
don't
but
get.
still, like all of those contractors you
That's true.
nixed to like wire up your house and make it super rad, and then you're just gonna blow holes in it.
Yeah.
I
um,
definitely like I could see like the Jack Sparrow like in my mind being like, stop blowing holes in my shit. It's like
that
stop.
is the first time Jack Sparrow has ever been referenced on my podcast, and I appreciate that.
Probably
So
not the last now.
no, no. Fool asks if there's another way out of the house, and Alice says only by going deeper into the house or walking directly into the sun. And she shows him an entrance into the walls under the sink. He says he doesn't want in, he wants out. And she says sometimes in is out.
It's a great sentiment that's always like the way out is through.
Yeah.
It's yeah, no. When I heard that, I was just like, yes. I mean, that's always like sometimes you got to go through the shit to get out of it. The only way out is through.
Yeah, like this is the profound shit
Yep.
that Leroy thought he
He
was
was
dropping.
grasping, and he's just like, sometimes a man is just asleep, and he looks dead, or
Yeah.
whatever. I don't know.
Like, okay,
Sometimes a
man.
man just needs a good lay down. Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
No. You got Rayanne Graff to give you the good,
yeah.
good profound stuff.
So just as he's about to go in, Roach screams again, scaring Fool. He says, "Forget it." He tries to go into the hallway, but the man is there, shooting at the walls. He runs back into the bathroom, but Alice has disappeared. Downstairs, Mama feeds a hand to Prince, the dog, and we notice that the ring is on the hand, so we know that it's Spencer's
Johnny come
hand.
lately.
Yeah.
Spencer. Spencer come lately.
And a bit of trivia that I saw on IMDb was that they're saying during the scene in which the woman feeds Spencer's sliced hand to her Rottweiler, a fake edible hand covered in red sauce was used.
Oh,
And
yummy.
while the dog was chewing and eating up the hand, uh, Robbie, the actress, noticed a wire in the dog's mouth and then reached into the dog's mouth with her bare fingers and pulled out the wire, much to the crew's shock, because what they tell you not to reach into a dog's mouth or into
Oh.
their bowl when they're
Mm-hmm.
eating, because they can be very
Yeah.
protective.
Yeah.
But she didn't. She unlike Jessica
She's
McHugh, loves
badass.
dogs.
Yeah.
So,
All
just
right.
kidding.
Yeah.
So,
Unlike me. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
you heard it here
I
first.
love little puppies.
Yeah.
I love little doggies, but not
So,
bad
not
dogs.
all right. So she hears a police car pull up, and they're investigating the van in the driveway. The woman gets on the intercom, walking over Leroy's body as she does, and warns the man about the cops. He then runs back to his room to change out of his outfit. Back in the bathroom.
Why? I mean, just he looked so professional.
Right. You got to, flaunt it, right?
Just give it a quick wipe down. Luckily, like it just wicks moisture and everything just kind of, slides right off. So you're good.
And all he has to do is unzip the mouth so he can talk to him,
Right. I mean, what's the big deal?
It's functional.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. So back in the bathroom, Fool was hiding in the shower. He hears the cops outside and tries to alert them, but they don't hear them. The woman goes to meet the cops outside, telling them it's not their van, but they did see some suspicious people, but they've checked their house and they're fine. And, the cops offer to go in and check the house out, but they say no. And then they say it's as if they are the prisoners and the criminals roam free. And then the cops agree.
Yes.
So,
yes, that was definitely a groan-worthy moment where I was just like, oh my God. See, and that's why he probably would have gotten the same reaction if he had been wearing his daddy leathers.
Right. All they needed was like a Blue Lives Matter sticker on their window or something like that, and they would have been fine. So, one of the cops says, "You're lucky. This van was used in a liquor store robbery last night." As the woman looks inside the van, she sees the Boy Scout outfit that Fool used earlier, and she realized there's one more person or one more child or whatever. And she says, "He's inside with our little angel." And then the weirdest thing happens is the man sniffs the outfit. It's like, that was really nasty. Like, why was that necessary?
It's like they just made him have the grossest choices. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the actor's choice. Because that's just so gross. It didn't need to happen. And, it just makes the character that much grosser. So
Yeah, and really creepy. So
super creepy.
back inside, Fool runs back into the doggy door hallway area, but he encounters Prince, and he's fighting him back and says, "God, what are they feeding you?" Then Prince coughs up Spencer's ring. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
a good gag.
Yeah.
Fool makes a run for the bathroom with Prince in pursuit. The man hears the commotion and blows a hole in the door and peeks inside. Fool then grabs the toilet bowl lid and smashes that shit over his head
Yeah.
and is like, "Night, night, dude." I
Yeah.
loved it. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that part.
That's good stuff.
As Fool looks outside, Prince lunges at him through the hole. And then the man stands back up and opens the door. And Fool says, "You come in here, I'm going to kick your ass." And he backs up to the wall. Suddenly, Roach appears from behind the wall cabinet and grabs Fool and pulls him into the wall, closing the cabinet doors behind him. And Daddy looks dumbfounded, like he didn't know that was there.
Yeah.
And then he goes and opens a cabinet and he just sees the inside of a cabinet. And he tries to pull it off the wall, but that doesn't work. So he ends up just blowing a hole through it with the shotgun. But I thought that was a real cool effect. I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Then he yells, "I'm going to kill you." But Roach comes back in and hits him with a rock in the head with a slingshot, which I thought was great. I
Yeah,
love
such as
Roach.
a great, like, yeah, just like a slingshot, such an innocent little like thing. And so that makes me think of, Roach being, trying to think of Roach's like origin, like as a little boy who was rejected, basically, who
Yeah.
did something bad. And now he's like in this arrested development, in the walls, running around with a slingshot. And, he's just like a little boy, basically.
Yeah, he's got like the survivor's spirit because he's the only
Hmm.
one of the rest of the boys that are down there
That got
that
out.
has got out, like quote unquote got out because he's still in the house,
Hmm.
but
Yeah,
like,
well, yeah, but
and he's free to roam, and he's like, he is in this situation, but he's still fighting it, which
yeah.
is
I
great.
mean, in the probably he's the one that created all these doors to different places.
Oh yeah, like in the walls and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, it's just like a great little, like, almost Lost Boy kind of
Hmm.
like thing. It's very, I really liked his character a lot. I feel like we didn't really learn much about him, but like what is inferred, I think is tells a rich story just about his character alone, even though it's not about him, but
Right.
he's an important character. He's a helpful character.
Very much so. And so Daddy picks up the man picks up Prince and throws him inside
You
the
stop
wall. And
saying daddy.
I know,
You
right?
can't stop calling him daddy.
I'm gonna start calling him Zaddy from now on. Hey,
Yeah,
Zaddy.
daddy.
So then he picks up Prince and throws him inside the wall and tells him to get him. And I forgot to mention that Alice said earlier that the man doesn't go into the walls because he's scared of what's in there. So
Okay.
that's kind of like the story reason for him not just going in the wall and getting Roach. So
Doesn't seem like a
Roach,
man that's scared of much, but
yeah, right. I think he's scared to face the reality of the shit he's
yeah,
done.
yeah.
I
I
don't know.
mean, yeah,
So Roach and Fool are running in the tight corridors of the wall, and there's string lights strung up on the walls, and we see a small place where there's a mattress, and we find out that this is where Roach lives. But in hot pursuit is Prince, and Fool and Roach get cornered, but Roach grabs the Fool doll and throws it in front of Prince, and Prince stops to smell and look at it. At this point, Roach pulls a rope, and the bottom gives way under Prince, and he's going down the slide,
it's the best.
and he's howling the whole way
Yeah,
down.
it's like how many slides are in this damn house?
Yeah, it's
Probably more than
amazing.
we ever see, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and he like breaks through the under the sink cabinet in the kitchen, right where
Oh
the
yeah,
man and the woman are talking, and they look so
yeah.
surprised.
They're just like, what?
But I thought it was so cute that he didn't hurt the dog.
Yeah,
Like it just came to a very
just went whoop.
slow stop. It was great.
Yeah, it was just like, and you're out of here. Yep.
Yeah. So he treats Prince very delicately, even though the dog is trying to kill him.
Yeah.
because he's a dog lover, Jessica. And it just, I'm just kidding. Jessica McHugh loves dogs.
I
Okay.
do. I do love
Yeah.
dogs.
So it just goes to show that there are no bad dogs. Like I said, only bad owners.
Yeah.
Mama, the woman sees that Prince has a doll in his mouth, and she says that the boy has gotten to Alice. Next, we see Alice opening up the register in her room to let Roach and Fool in. Fool thanks Roach for saving him, and he just nods and smiles creepily. Fool says he doesn't talk much, does he? And Alice says his tongue's cut out. Roach nods his head in agreement, then sticks out the stub of his tongue
Yeah, it
and
looks
makes a
gross.
looks great and makes a gesture to
Yeah,
indicate that scissors were used to cut it off.
it's
Um,
gross.
the tongue looks disgusting and also amazing at the
Yeah.
same time.
I'm a big fan. I was a fan of it, like
Yeah,
when I
big
saw
fan.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very good.
Fool says he tried to call for help one day and the father had to teach him to speak no evil. So that's why he cut out his tongue.
What'd he say? Like, boobies or something?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I want to know what warrants getting your tongue cut out.
Yeah. Maybe just calling for help, like trying to get out or something.
Oh, yeah, good call.
So then Fool says to Alice, your father's one sick mother. Actually, your mother's one sick mother too. It's like, okay,
That's a good one.
that's cool. Good
Yeah,
line.
that's a good one.
Alice tries to stop him and says to not speak any evil or they'd kill him if they heard you.
Mm-hmm.
So right off the bat, there that would be enough to get your tongue cut out, what he
Yeah,
just said.
okay. Yeah. Just speaking any ill against them.
Yeah. So Fool introduces himself to Roach. He sees the doll that Alice made for Leroy, and he asks why she made it. And she says to hold the souls of all the workers, the burglars, the mailmen that came to the house. And there's literally a stack, a pile of them that she piles onto her bed.
Yeah, it's
So
creepy.
how many people they've killed.
Yeah.
Okay. So just then, the man bursts into the room, and Roach jumps back into the wall. And the man lets off the shotgun right after him, and then he pins Fool to the bed. Then the woman runs in and tackles Alice to the bed and calling her Judas and yelling at her and calling her a whore and all that sort of stuff. And
Burn in hell!
burn in hell, she says.
Burn in hell!
It's time for a total spring cleaning, which whatever that means, we're going to find out now. So later downstairs, the man forced Fool to help him drag Leroy to the basement stairway. And once they get to the top step, he pushes Fool down and then throws Leroy down as well. It's like Fool can't catch a break. He's getting it from everywhere.
Yeah.
Then we see the woman forcing Alice to clean up Leroy's blood, dragging her down the stairs, yelling at her the whole time.
And she's, you ruined your dress. And
Yeah.
it's like you pushed her into the blood.
Yeah, it says real like no more wire hangers vibes.
Yeah, really. It's very disturbing. Like what's her face who played the daughter? I mean, she did a really good job. It was difficult to watch.
Yeah, and it actually Alice slips in the blood, and this looks like a real fall to me.
Yeah, it did. It did.
And then she grabs the rag and starts cleaning, and she's the mother's like calling her a lazy brat.
Mm-hmm.
The children have been behaving downstairs and in the walls, and they'll be the death of her. I hope they are, and they will.
Yes. Ugh.
So downstairs we see Daddy. Downstairs we see the man is field dressing Leroy. He's strung upside down. He's gutted him. He's tearing chunks of meat off of him. And then we also see that he has blood around his lips and his mouth is full. And so now we're doing cannibalism as well.
Yep. Uh-huh. Well, I mean, you just gotta, spice it up a little bit every once in a while. You can't just put on your daddy leathers every day. You gotta spice it up.
So this is like they're like the Sawyer family from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They're like their city cousins,
Yeah. I mean, they're like kind of. I don't know. They strike me. I don't. It might just be whatever his name, Everett McGill or Emmett McGill. He just seems like a Texas oil tycoon or something like that kind of landlord. It was just like,
Yeah.
all right, well, if I can't make them pay, I'm gonna make a buffet. You know,
Yeah, that's great. You are really good. Uh, so then he actually throws a hunk of Leroy to the people under the stairs, and he says he keeps them real hungry.
yeah,
This man is a
which
monster.
is always does you in. If you say you keep anything hungry, like that's your kind of
Yeah.
Chekhov's gun of like Chekhov's starvation. Anyone who's just like, they've been my dogs. I've been starving them. But you're gonna be eaten by your dogs. Okay.
I've even seen that when it comes to like pigs, like a pig
Yeah,
farmer,
yeah. Like anything where it's like I keep them hungry for whatever reason.
yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna end up eating you.
So back upstairs, Mama has. I hate myself. Back upstairs, the woman has run a very hot
Mama
bath.
doesn't feel so weird. Like
It's
Mama,
Daddy, right?
yeah. Well, if you're saying mommy, then
Yeah.
okay.
Oh,
But
okay.
Mama's not so
Okay.
bad.
I should do just a quick find replace.
Yeah, just like the woman,
Yeah.
the man.
So back upstairs, the woman has run a very hot bath and forces Alice to get in. It's a steaming like bath, and saying she got her dress dirty, cleaning up the blood, and now she has to clean up. Alice refuses, so then she pushes her in with her dress and all, and the bath is scalding hot. So Alice starts yelling.
Oh God, yeah, that was awful. That was horrible. That was messed up.
This poor girl has been through so much. I could just
Yeah.
imagine the lifetime of therapy she's going to need.
Woo. Woo.
So back downstairs, the man drops the now gutted Leroy into a vat of what looks like shit, and then he pulls a lever, and the vat cover comes moves back into place. The man grabs Fool and takes him over to the people behind the walls, and the whole time they're flashing their flashlights and moaning and groaning and reaching out to grab him through the slats. They're behind like a gate, and he opens the gate and throws him in. And back upstairs, the man tells the woman that he could have killed Fool, but he'll let the people under the stairs do it.
Yeah. Again, not taking responsibility for your own actions, just passing the buck.
Right. Or like letting the system kill him.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
See? We're smart.
Yep. We got you, Wes Craven.
Back downstairs, Fool is introduced to the people under the stairs. Maybe a dozen or so manor boys surround him, and Fool like bats them back, saying like, "Leave me alone." And these guys look so great. I mean, they look terrible,
Mm.
but they look great. Their bodies are very pasty. They're dirty, emaciated, but like also one of them has like a really dope fit. He's like got a cool
Yeah.
striped sweater, and, like acid wash jeans, and like long
Yeah.
hair.
Yep. There's some
And
good
so
looking dudes there.
yeah,
They're
so you know
representing.
he's like a
They're in
featured
various
extra.
states. Yeah, they're like
Yeah,
various states of decomposition and like
yeah,
mutilation. So some of them are just like, hey, whatever. I'm just
yeah,
dope. Like they just won't let me out.
yeah. He's definitely serving looks, you know.
Yeah.
So suddenly the vat is opening back up, and the peeps, we'll just call them, get cautious as to, or I'm sorry, they get curious as to what is happening. They then see Leroy's disfigured body floating back up and groaning, and they're all scared and they back away. We then see it was Roach who was in the vat and used Leroy's body as a distraction. This is horrible because it looks terrible, but it's
Yeah.
also hilarious because Roach has this
Because
look
Roach is
of
like, yeah. He's
he's
such a
so
happy
proud of
little
himself.
character. Yeah. Yeah. He's
Yeah.
just like, look at me with a dead body. Woo-hoo. Just kidding.
So Roach then goes and frees Fool from the gate, and then the man hears the noise and six prints on them.
Mhm.
Fool and Roach head into the furnace, where Fool notices that Roach has been shot. And Roach then climbs up into the furnace and comes back down with a velvet bag filled with coins that he gives to Fool. And this is when you really see Roach's
It's
hands are like,
so sad.
yeah. They're like his hands are filthy, his nails are so long, it's
Yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah.
But I had a question for you. Who do you think named him? Did Alice name him Roach? Because that's fucked up for a little girl to call him Roach. Or did he name himself?
I feel like it was probably like, so if yeah, whenever he escaped and got into like the walls before the um man and woman realized it was someone in the walls, they probably heard skittering around and were probably calling it like a roach. There's a roaches in the walls or something like that.
Yeah.
And then maybe just got it just kind of stuck. I
And
don't
then
know.
like Alice just called him that, it's
Yeah. Well, I think there's also like, I mean, Alice, is that a deliberate name, like a reference to Alice in Wonderland with all the different
mm,
kind of chambers and like,
yeah.
exploration that happens? And like being her, like kind of, it's almost like she lives in Wonderland and like she needs to get out,
Which
or
hopefully
something.
she will.
Yeah.
So Fool thanks Roach, and Roach writes on the wall Alice and points upward, indicating he can get to Alice that way. And then he lays down and dies.
It's so sad.
It's very sad.
It's really sad. I did not expect like the character that I thought was going to scare me the most would like touch my heart the most.
Yeah.
It's
I
so
mean,
sad. You
Wes is
know,
a genius like that.
people under the stairs, but really it's the people in your heart.
Amazing. Amazing. I say like R.I.P. Roach, like justice for Roach, man. Like he was
Yeah,
a
right?
great character.
Yeah.
So Fool climbs up, and Prince follows him up each level, like outside by the grates. And as he gets closer, we hear the man. This is hilarious. I misspelled daddy. I missed a D, so it didn't replace it. So it still
Lady.
says daddy. Yeah. So as he gets closer, we hear the man yelling at Alice. Prince has followed Fool up to Alice's door, and he's barking. The man opens the door and tells him to shut the fuck up. He closes the door and turns back around, and we see Fool has entered the room through the register, and he runs up to the man and punches him square in the dick, which is
Yes.
awesome.
I wrote
Which is
that down. Like when it happened, I was like, "Oh my god, he punched him right in the dick."
Yeah, dick punch. There's nothing better
Yeah.
than a dick punch, a
That
well-deserved dick
was
punch.
yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Alice says he said he killed you. Fool says he exaggerated. The man attacks Fool and misses him. Then Fool smashes a lamp over the man's head, and they exit through the register. I mean, Fool is
He's
a great
resourceful.
character. Yeah, he's
He's
awesome.
good. He's good stuff.
So back downstairs, the man has thrown gas on Roach and sets him on fire, saying, "Burn in hell for getting free and burn in hell for showing the way." It's like so terrible.
All right.
He did not deserve that.
No.
The man then turns up the heat, which Alice and Fool feel immediately because they're in the ducts, until they bust out and they make their way through the inside of the walls. It's so dusty that Fool has to sneeze, which causes the man to shoot at the place in the wall where the sneeze came from. And then as they're walking, a set of spikes comes through the wall. I don't know where that came from. I don't know.
That's just one of the hidden funhouse accoutrement.
Did Roach set that up, or did the man set that up? Did he just happen to have a set of spikes laying around the
You
house?
know what? I'm not clear on that, but I mean they do they do have that big instrument panel with all kinds of like
Oh
switches for random
yeah, I hadn't
things.
even
So,
thought of that. But how weird that that's the one spot they said this is where the
well,
most
I know that's where
robbers congregate or something.
I yeah no like over years of kidnapping people, we found that people pause in this moment more than any other section of the house. So
Yeah,
let's put the
that's
spikes right here. Just like, it's like Last Crusade, where it's like the penitent man will pass. Well, I guess the penitent man kneels and rolls before God because, like,
Yeah.
with like a movie. Like, what the fuck? So,
They set the rules. We just have to follow them.
yeah, yeah, we're just living in their funhouse
Yeah.
horror world, house of horrors.
So the spikes almost get them, but they avoid them. The man sets Prince on them again. It's like this part is getting a little repetitive because
Yeah.
like these try-fail cycles. I get it. Like, but let's
Well,
kind of
yeah,
move
they
on.
just keep being like, "Oh, we can't get in there. Go, dog. Seek them out." This poor dog.
So if I have any like complaint with this movie, which I don't have much because I absolutely love this movie, it's this part. It's the part of the
Yeah.
dog completely getting sicked on them or
Yeah, it does
chasing them the
happen
whole time.
quite a bit.
This time, Prince gets full, and Alice is trying to tear him off, but she can't. The man follows the noise in the wall and then shoves his shotgun with a bayonet through the walls
Oh
repeatedly
god. Yeah, that's rough.
until finally Fool holds Prince up to the walls, and the man stabs Prince, thinking he stabbed Fool. The man runs downstairs and does another jig for the woman, saying she got him, or he got him, you know? And the woman says, prove it. So,
Oh my
um,
god. Prove it.
yeah. So Fool and Alice climb up to the attic. The man breaks the wall down and shows the woman that he killed Prince. Poor, poor Prince. In the attic,
That was
Fool
rough.
looks. Yeah, it's I think there's a website like "Does the dog die" or something like that where you
Yeah,
can look up.
yeah. I didn't think to look it up with this one. I did not at all.
Yeah. In the attic, Fool looks out of the open window and says, "Look, you can see the lights of the ghetto from up here. I never thought that smog could smell so good." Again, a bit of overkill, but it's fine. I'll allow it, Wes.
Mhm.
Alice is astonished at the night sky. Fool yells. Fool tries to yell for help, but Alice tells him to stop. Fool then remembers the pond in the back, and he thinks it lines up with the window. Uh, he's going to jump, and he wants Alice to do so too, but she's too afraid. She says, "What's out there?" In the meantime, the man is breaking the door down to the attic. Fool is pleading with Alice to go with him, but she won't. She can't, which is absolutely like devastating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like her freedom is right there, but she's been so used to what she knows that she can't
Yeah.
take that step.
Yeah. It's really sad.
Um, so Fool jumps out the window just as the man shoots at him. Fool once again calls to Alice, but the man pokes his head out the window and shoots at him. But Alice grabs a gun and pushes up to fuck the shot up. Fool jumps down into the pond. Then the man is downstairs again, shooting at him, but he runs away, saying he'll be back for
How many
Alice.
like shots are in this gun?
Yeah, right. Or the bullets. How many
Like,
shotgun
like fucking
shells?
shot like a bunch of times.
The woman runs outside and says, "Never shoot your gun outside." But the man looks heartbroken, saying he got away. So she grabs the shotgun and says,
Aw.
and she says,
He got
"Bad boy."
away. Danny.
Yeah. So go straight to your room and put on your suits. It's like, oh God, I
Oh
don't want to know what's
yeah.
happening there.
Oh god.
Yeah. So back at the apartment, so Fool has gotten away. He's the first one to get away, and that's awesome. Excuse me. So back at his apartment, Fool is sitting around the table with Ruby and an older man who we'll come to find is his grandfather. And he's saying that the grandfather is saying that based on the rarity, they should have enough to pay their rent till the
Mhm.
year 2000. So that's 9 years from then. So
That's
that's cool.
that's cool.
And then Fool asks, "How about enough to pay for the mom's surgery?" And he says, "Yes, even that."
Mm.
Um, the man, Grandpa says he's going to order an ambulance tomorrow morning, and they'll get her the treatment she needs. But to me, I'm thinking, well, there's still half an hour left in the movie. What's going to
Yeah.
happen? So what did you think that he was going to go back?
I really had no idea. I assumed that he probably would have to. But yeah, I had no idea because like honestly my expectations had been subverted already at every turn.
Yeah, because
So,
typically in this type of movie, the ending would have been when he left.
yeah.
That would have been
Yeah,
the ending.
exactly.
But now we have a whole half an hour left. He's gonna become the hero and save her, hopefully. So I just think this is real
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
I know the movie's long. It's like an hour 48 or something like that. So it can't feel a bit long, but this extra part where
It
he
didn't
goes to
feel
save
long
her.
to me at all. No.
Yeah.
Because like I even when we started watching my husband fell asleep, like I was like, "Don't leave me alone with the movie," because at the time I didn't know it was a comedy yet. It was basically just starting off.
Yeah.
And then once it got deep by this point, he had fallen back asleep again, and I was fine. I was like, I can,
You go ahead.
yeah. I mean, it's just like it's a silly movie, so.
Yeah.
But I mean, a really good one. But yeah, definitely a lot sillier than I thought it was going to be.
So the older man then says, or, sorry, then Grandpa says, to be careful. That brother and sister act he was messing with are dangerous. And right now I'm thinking, brother and sister, what the fuck?
Yeah. Uh huh. Yeah.
What did you think when you heard that?
So I feel like this is almost like the it felt like Psycho kind of when they're doing like the breakdown where they're explaining. It was like, oh, old Mrs. Bates up there had a lover, and
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
just
That's a good
like,
point.
and it's just like it was just kind of that breakdown, but
Yeah.
um yeah, no, I was like, that's gross, and y'all gross, and that seemed clear already, so that was just like the icing on the cake of grossness.
Yeah.
um but yeah, it just seemed, but it even like went ahead and solidified that kind of that purity, white power kind of mentality of
Oh yeah,
the
that's true.
breeding between siblings to keep the bloodline pure and all that. So
If that's a pure bloodline, we don't want that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think the purer the bloodline gets, the more Leatherman outfits you have. I don't know.
More daddy Leatherman outfits.
Daddy Leathermans.
Yeah. Okay, so then Grandpa says they are the last of a family that was crazier generation after generation.
Because they
They started
inbred.
because they inbred, exactly. They started out
Yeah.
being a funeral home, then they entered real estate, and the richer they got, the greedier they got, and the greedier they got, the crazier they got. So
I feel like
this.
it could also maybe the family switch out from like the Burbs. Like, because that that family's like real creepy and like funeral.
Oh right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's like maybe they're related, the Klopek family.
I hadn't seen that movie until like a couple years ago, and because I thought it was just some silly Tom
Oh man,
Hanks
that's a great,
movie, but
yeah.
it's a great movie. Yeah,
That is a
this would
really
make
great movie.
a great double feature with the people under the stairs. I think.
Yeah, it actually, yeah, it's a good, that would be good.
Yeah. So the grandpa then says, when he was a kid, no one walked past that house. So Fool tells Ruby he has to go back for Alice, even though Ruby read his tarot cards again and said that they were very scary. So Fool calls the police on the family, reporting a case of child abuse. Later at the house, we see a bunch of cop cars around the house, and one cop asks if it's real, and the other says it's bogus. They don't even have kids. So for me, it felt very like, do you think this many cops would be called out to a house this quickly for like child abuse?
I mean,
I don't know.
no, especially if like the people, like the cops, don't even think it's like a thing. If they think
Right.
it's just a false report or something, why would there be so many?
Yeah. So
But
that threw me off a little bit, but
yeah,
movie magic, we'll say.
yeah,
So the woman and the man are putting on a great show for the cops.
yeah,
They're offering coffee. She's
yeah.
like dressed up like a 50s
Oh yeah, it's great.
housewife,
It's great.
giving them cookies to the social workers. We
Yeah.
see the man is hiding his chain and whips and leather outfit and his shotgun like in the wall, and he's wearing
Mm.
this ridiculous sweater vest and a
Oh
dress shirt
yeah.
combo.
Uh huh.
His hat is covering his head injury, and he's smoking a
Oh yeah.
pipe. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, that is good. I forgot how
Um,
much that was. Yeah.
so one of the cops finds Alice's room, and they ask, "I thought you said you had no
Oh
kids."
right. And
And
they're
they
like,
make
"Oh, our daughter passed. We
exactly.
kept it just the way she had it," which is great. I mean, it's a great cover.
Yeah, she's like, but in a sense, she's always been with us, and she'll
Yeah.
always be. It's like, you slick
Because she's
bitch.
in the walls.
You couldn't help yourself.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's good stuff. I'm way on board with that kind of ridiculous writing. I
Yeah.
love it.
So the cops leave without incident. They then lock back up and walk to the door leading to the basement. We see that a fake shelf has been placed there, and they pull a lever,
And they're like, I
and
knew
then
it would work.
yeah, exactly. This felt a little bit Scooby Doo-ish to me, but
They are,
still
oh
awesome.
yeah, for sure, for sure. They are. It's a. They're kind of like a fun duo in the worst sense possible.
Right.
But they're just like, I told you it would work. Now let's go on eating people.
Like if they used
Come
their
on,
powers for
Daddy.
good and like made this a haunted house, that'd be fucking dope,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but
That'd be
no,
awesome.
there's no doing that. There's no
Yeah.
good in those people.
So then the woman says she was worried because the police left the back door open for so long and maybe some of them got out. But the man says no,
Right,
he used horse tranquilizers on them and so they were knocked
right.
out. But now we know how Fool snuck back into the house.
Exactly. The
Uh,
door was open. Yeah,
yeah, we see him crawl out of a kitchen cabinet and
that's
he
pretty
starts looking.
sloppy of them.
Yeah, yeah. But also, like, what can they do? They can't be like,
Yeah,
close the door
exactly.
and get out.
Yeah. But also pretty
So,
sloppy of the police not to notice like a child
oh,
sneaking
oh
into a
yeah,
crime
that
scene
is true.
or like
So then he starts looking around for Alice, but he goes to the fireplace and grabs a fire poker as a weapon. Slowly, he makes his way upstairs, and we hear the man say, tomorrow he's going to look for the boy in the ghetto and he'll kill him. So it was a good thing that
yeah, he
he
came
came
back.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good thing.
So they say goodnight to each other, and then the woman reminds the man to say his prayers again, like a good boy. Ugh, uh,
Uh,
yeah. So as Fool walks down the hall and rounds the corner in the room, he sees that it was actually a recording of their voices, not actually them. This was
oh,
great. This
I
was
don't
great.
know.
I didn't anticipate this. Yeah, and then suddenly the man bursts through the door across from him, and again he's all decked out in his
Where did they make the
Leatherman Sinatra.
recording?
Yeah, right. No idea. No idea. In the time that it
Are they
took,
like Bill and Ted?
I guess, in the time that it took Fool to get home, call his grandfather, the grandfather get him all the information, and
So
then
they
call the
knew
cops.
he was gonna come back.
Right, exactly. If so, then they'll have it back.
Gotcha. It
Bullshit.
all
It was
makes
bullshit.
sense. It all
Yeah.
makes sense.
So he
But they get
grabs.
him.
They got him. And they grab Fool, toss him against the wall. Fool fights back and sticks his thumb in the man's eyes.
Oh yeah, that was good stuff. That's always a good
Yeah,
attack.
I love it. And he releases Fool. The woman then attacks him and he hits her with the fire poker. And then he breaks the poker over the man's head. This guy keeps getting hit in the head, and I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Um,
Holy
Fool
shit.
runs. Fool runs downstairs and flips the switch to unlock the downstairs doors. And the man runs and grabs his shotgun. So the man's looking all over for him and checks the kitchen, and he sees that the door is open, and they think he's left again. We see Alice chained up in the attic. Meanwhile, Fool has climbed up to the attic through the walls and appears directly behind Alice by removing a brick from the wall. Uh, Alice smiles when she realizes he came back for her, which I thought was really cute.
Yeah, it is. It's very nice.
And she says that she's stuck in the wall
Oh,
with the
that's
rope.
right. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
up like that. Okay.
And then he says, "Oh, is it this bolt?" And he knocks it out, which
Yeah.
lets her, which is
Yeah, she's
awesome.
like, it's a bolt. I can't get it. He's like, what? This one? Boink. And
Yeah,
she's free. Yeah, just like how easy that was. And then it's like, oh wait, go back and do it because the guy's coming around the corner.
this was really scary.
Yeah.
Uh, Suddenly, Alice tells him to be quiet and hide, and we see the man come into the attic, thinking he heard a noise. Alice has to put her hands back up and pretends
Mhm.
to still be tied to the wall. She pleads with the man to let her go, but he just stands there. And then he's in his leather daddy outfit and he starts to grab at his crotch,
Yeah.
which, if he had been left alone, we don't know what would have happened. But suddenly the woman appears and she yells at him to get back downstairs. They're fucking animals, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so they go back downstairs and he looks back at her and the woman says, now. So finally he leaves and full, t-
I'm
yeah.
sick. Okay, fine.
And Fool tells her to meet him at the window where they were earlier. And
Right.
then once they get there, they meet up and they hug. And again,
Yeah,
very, very
cute. Very
touching, very
cute.
cute. Yeah. So Fool so I don't think child Jessica knew, when she was so scared of this advertisement that she'd be like, "Oh, so cute,"
Oh, it's so cute. Yeah,
Yeah,
I had
that's
no
awesome.
idea. Also, if they had told me it was the kid from The Sandlot, like, I
Oh
would have
yeah,
been
that
on
would have helped
board.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Fool then tells Alice that they aren't her real parents. They're not even husband and wife.
Right.
They're rotten baby snatchers. They stole her like they stole Roach and everyone else.
Hmm.
At first, she doesn't believe him. He says his grandpa told him. Fool asks if she can jump this time, but she says he drained the pond and threw glass at the bottom. Again, where did he get the time to do this? Like you're saying, you know? And she says the way they came before is also blocked. So they go up to the roof with some bricks, and then back inside, the
Oh,
man and the woman
wow.
they get into a fight about Alice. This is the first time we actually see them fight. He wanted to kill her, but she didn't. He calls Alice a whore, and she
Dang.
slaps him, and he starts choking her. But then they hear sound coming from the chimney. The man goes to look, and he shoots up into the chimney, and Fool pretends to be hit. When the man is still looking up in the chimney, Fool then drops the brick down on the man's face. And you're right, this is like Home Alone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It definitely has like madcap elements like that, which is just so weird in such a creepy ass movie.
Yeah, exactly. So they then take the opportunity while the man is injured to slide down the chimney before the woman can grab the gun and shoot them. So they slide down, and then the shotgun falls further down into the basement. They slide past her, and they get to the first floor. And Fool tells Alice to leave through the back door. Alice wants him to come, but he says he's not finished with them yet, which I absolutely love. I
Yeah.
love that. And he slides down to the cellar to let the people under the stairs free. He says he's going to
Hmm.
grab the shotgun and let them free, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Downstairs, the people under the stairs are happy to see Fool, which I thought was funny. They're calling out his
Yeah,
name.
they like him. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, sorry about us, that trying to eat you earlier. That was
We
our
didn't
bad.
we didn't
Yeah, we didn't. We
know.
didn't.
Bygones.
We didn't know you were cool with Roach. You should have just
No.
said you were Roach's
Yeah,
boy.
you say yeah, come on. We love Roach.
So he quiets them down. Back upstairs, the woman has grabbed Alice and wants to know where Fool is, but she's able to break away by stomping on her foot, and then she runs away into the kitchen. But the door to leave is closed. So the man comes to see the racket, and the woman says that Fool has turned her little girl against her, so she can burn in hell with him. Okay, lady.
Burn it out.
They follow her to the kitchen and realize she doesn't have a key to get out, so she must still be there. They look everywhere but can't find her.
This was one
But
of my favorite
yeah, do you want to
little
say what happens here?
reveals. Yeah, well, I mean, they're looking down, and she was in the like hood over the oven, and she's just like, like climb out, and like that was so good because I was like, how the
And
hell?
she dropped the shoe, so she had to
Yeah,
go back
shoe.
and reach
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's
and
a great little like boom. Yeah,
which is funny because we saw earlier in the movie when
with
Fool
the
and
fork.
yeah, well, when Fool and Leroy first got into the house, and he said, "Oh, I love to see that rich people have rats." It wasn't the rats;
Uh,
it was Roach up in that vent that Alice is in right
right,
now. Yeah,
right. Okay.
so
Yeah,
things are
no,
coming
that's
back.
yeah, yeah. It's very cute.
Yeah, I like it. So they hear a commotion downstairs and go to check. The man opens the door, and there's Fool with the shotgun, and he says, "Say a prayer if you know one." But the man pulls the lever again, and that makes the
Uh,
stairs into a slide, and Fool slides down, missing his shot. These, it's like
You
they got
just have to
this.
assume that anywhere you're standing in this house is potentially a slide or
That's
spikes.
true, unless you're standing on solid ground.
Yeah. Oh,
You
not
know,
even then. I don't feel
that's
like
true.
the dog was just randomly in a spot when it turned into a slide.
That is true. Yeah, yeah. So the man follows and tells the woman to shoot Alice if she sees her. Downstairs, the man grabs a shotgun and tells Fool to stand up. He then shows him Spencer's and Leroy's bodies down in the vat of poo, and says he will be thrown down there. But before you can shoot him, they hear a knock on the door. The woman says not to shoot. She needs to check who it is. So she goes to the door, and it's Ruby saying she's with an association of people who have been
Does
unjustly
she didn't she have
evicted.
like does she have blood all over her?
Ruby?
No, the woman.
Oh, the
Like she
woman?
looked messed up, I feel
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
right?
She
She
was
looks
like
like real
rushed,
messed up. She's like, "Hello?" You know. I
and
just
she
loved
has the.
and she still has the audacity to be a bitch.
Oh, this woman doesn't know
Yeah.
how to not be a bitch.
Yeah, and she's like looks like a freaking wreck and like so guilty.
Yeah, and so she's with the association of people who have been unjustly evicted, exploited, and generally fucked over.
Yes.
And she accuses them of being slumlords of over 50 buildings, and that they've allowed to deteriorate into rat-infested hellholes while they charge ridiculous rents. They then evict people to build office buildings. So she slams the door on Ruby and yells for the man to kill Fool. When he attempts to do so, the people under the stairs start making a racket, which allows Fool to get away. Again, there's a knock at the door. This time, it's Fool's grandpa pretending to be the police, and he's stating they have reports of gunfire. She opens the door and he says they just want to finish their piece. Ruby says that not only have you stolen from the community, but you've stolen children of the community for your own sick needs. The woman says there's no community here. All she sees is a couple of N words.
Yeah.
As she says this, she raises the gun, but then the whole community shows up behind her, and Ruby says, "What are you going to do? Shoot us all?" And at this point, I think the woman has just lost her shit, right? And
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
says, basically, she can't kill them all, but you'll do. And she aims the
Mhm.
gun at Ruby, but we hear Alice say no, and she drops down from the vent above the door and slams the woman's head into the pavement. Alice is a hero. I don't
Yay.
know. I don't know how she got up in the vents,
Yeah, I don't know.
but
You know.
fine.
You
We
know.
we needed it. So back downstairs, the people under the stairs are making noise, and the man is looking for Fool. One of the peeps grabs Fool and pushes him to the gate lock, and I thought, oh no, they're helping him, but actually, the man shoots at Fool, but the hands drop Fool just in time, and the lock is shot out instead.
Mhm.
They then open the door and grab Fool to safety. The man has to follow behind them. Then we hear the grandpa at the top of the stairs, as well as Alice and Ruby, and they're calling for Fool. The man runs back up the stairs, but Grandpa closes the door on him just as he hits the door and falls back down. Again, this is starting to feel a bit repetitive here.
Mhm.
Fool tells one of the peeps the way to get out of the cellar so he can finally see the birds, so he can get to the outside to the
Mm.
women. I was like, okay.
Yeah, there was that to the
Uh,
women.
Fool, I know you've been hanging around. He's been hanging around Leroy too much.
Leroy and Daddy are not good influences for you.
Yeah. So he indicates one of the people on the stairs indicates that he wants to show Fool something behind a door that is protected by alarm. So Fool breaks the alarm and goes inside, and he finds a treasure trove of cash and jewels. He says, "No wonder there's no money in the ghetto."
I wrote
Great
that
line here.
down. Yeah, I wrote it down. I loved that.
Yeah, and like I thought like the ghetto was full of like apartment buildings, but not houses.
Mhm.
And the quickest way, or the number one way to build generational wealth, is buy real estate. and you can't afford to buy a home if you're always paying rent. And then the
Right.
landlords stockpile the money from one neighborhood, but they don't spend it in that neighborhood because they don't live in that neighborhood. They live
Mm,
in another neighborhood. So no, the stores in that neighborhood can't be supported, so they close. And then food deserts become a thing, and it's like,
mm.
wow, Wes is saying so much with just one
Yeah.
little line right here. It's great.
Yeah, seriously. Just like
Um,
this horde. Like
yeah.
it's just doing nothing basically. Not helping the community at all. Yeah, no, it's crazy.
So back upstairs, they open the door again and call for Full. They notice that the woman has disappeared. Ruby goes outside and asks the crowd where the woman went. The woman then shuts the door on her. Alice tries to open the door, but the system has been overwritten by the woman who says, "You knew I wouldn't let you get away that easy."
Mm,
Um, she finds her in the kitchen, and she attacks Alice with a butcher knife. Alice runs, but is tackled on the stairs. And just as the woman is about to thrust the knife into Alice, a hand breaks through the stairs and grabs the woman's hand and bites it.
yes.
Uh, I gotta say, the build quality of a house that old doesn't seem to be that good if they're just able to like
Yeah.
break through it, you know?
Especially
But
once you've
okay.
shot a bunch of like, fired a shotgun at it
Oh,
several times, the integrity is going to start to crumble there.
that is true. That's true. So the person crawls through the hole, and then the woman yells at him to get back under the stairs, but he advances. She's backed up to the window, where another hand reaches out from the wall and grabs her. She's then thrown against another wall, where a full body breaks through and grabs her. So this is kind of
This
terrifying.
is yeah. This is them all coming out at her through the walls, through all the hidden things.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, this is good stuff.
this feels a lot like the original Night of the Living Dead towards the end, where
Yeah,
they finally broken through,
for sure. Yeah,
But in that
and just
movie,
like hands.
it's a weird switch because in that movie we're rooting for the woman to be safe and the zombies are the monsters. In this one,
Yeah,
the
we're
ones
rooting
breaking
for
through the
the
walls.
zombies, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wes Craven
like
is a
get her,
genius. I just
get
thought of that
her.
right now, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
She breaks away from the full body person and runs into the kitchen where she runs into Alice, who's holding the knife in front of her, and it goes right into the woman's belly, and it stays there. So she backs away and goes into the foyer where she is surrounded by like five of the boys that she's kidnapped, and she says to Alice, she says, "You hurt your mother," and Alice says, "You're not my mother. You never were." Then the woman grabs a knife out of her stomach and attacks Alice, and says once again her line,
Burn in hell.
"Yeah." But as soon as she attacks, the people come out from everywhere and grab her and like bite her and kill her and throw her down the stairs.
Yeah.
Great. And then finally, the man sees this and then he sees them walking down the stairs. Um, Back in the room, Full is looking at the loot and sees explosives. And the man goes and looks for Fool in the room and he hears that coins dropping one after the other.
This was good.
It was a great
Yeah.
thing that he did.
Yeah, this
Do
was
you
a
want to
great
explain what he
device.
did?
Well, yeah, we had the coins in the candles, and as it burned down, like they were dropping, and like yeah, it sounded like someone in there, and it was
Yeah,
yeah, no, that was so cool.
I thought it was amazing. So smart. Shows what a smart character Fool is. You know.
Yeah, no, I had not seen that done before in that way, so I was just like, dang,
Yeah.
that was rad.
And Fool reappears and tells the man, "Don't shoot or you die," or "Don't shoot or you die also." And he's got the wires to the dynamite in his hands. And
Mm.
he tells the man to put the gun down. He says, "I don't want to kill you, but I will because I don't like you that much anyway." Fool once again yells at him to put the gun down, but he says, "Boy," at the end. And the man does
Mm.
not like that at all. And he aims to shoot. And Fool touches the wires
I
together. And
wrote boy on my paper. I was
yeah.
like, boy.
I love it. I love the use of that, you know?
That yeah, no, that I was just like, "Ooh, he did not." Yeah, that was good.
And then, so he ducks out of the way just as the dynamite explodes. And I'm thinking, like, this is a terrible place to store your dynamite. I mean,
Yeah, no, with your riches.
I wouldn't think, like, the thing I treasure the most, I wouldn't keep with the thing that could destroy
No.
everything I love the most, you know? But
Whoops, I
that's
accidentally blew up my fortune.
that's just me, you know?
My
Uh,
bad.
so the whole house blows up, exploding the money out into the world, into the road.
Yay!
And I'm
Yeah.
like, reallocation of wealth right there,
Yep. Uh-huh.
you know?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And the man is thrown into the vat of shit, which is a
Yay!
great way for him to die.
Yes.
And I was worried that they were going to do a whole a final like surprise where he's not dead. He's really, but he was actually
No,
dead. He
he's
died
dead.
in the vat of
He's
shit.
dead.
Like the
Everyone's got money. Yeah, and they have like a party.
Yeah, everyone is outside trying to gather money.
Yeah.
Alice goes to check on Fool, who's downstairs, and she asks if he's okay. He says he feels like $1,000,000. Okay, then we see that the main people on the stairs, the guy who's dressed in a great outfit, he goes around the corner and then he's outside and he walks away from the house,
Yeah.
as do other people under the stairs. So they're finally
Yeah,
free.
they're going to live their lives
Hell yeah! See,
as people under the stairs, like but out in the world, like Harry Potter.
yeah.
He was under the stairs once. He
I
became
don't.
a
I've
great
never seen.
man.
I'll believe you with that reference.
I don't know. I assume so. I that's all. I know very little about.
So then we cue the early '90s rap music, and the credits start rolling.
Yay!
And then I'd say, Fool has walked through the sun, and he's come out the other side a man.
Yep.
The end.
Agreed.
Great
Yes.
movie.
Yeah,
So
it was really good.
Jessica, I got to ask, what'd you think of it?
I mean, I thought it was a solid movie with good horror elements, good comedy elements, good story and character, growth and change. Solid offering. I liked it a lot. And not as scary as I thought it was going to be. Like not even close to being as scary. More disturbing than scary. It's very disturbing.
So having seen it now at your age, how do you think 13-year-old, or however old you were, Jessica, would have reacted to this movie if she saw it when it first came out?
That's tough.
Yeah.
I I think I would have had a lot of questions.
Right. Like, why is he wearing
Yeah,
leather?
yeah. I think I would have had a lot of questions. Um, I think I would have liked it. I like I said before, I think it was a detriment to myself that I swore it off for so long. For like the dumbest reason because I was scared of a billboard. This just seems like the silliest reason not to partake in something. Um, but I'm just glad I was able to do it now and for a good cause. I like to be on the podcast. I mean that's why when I saw it on the list I jumped at the chance because I was like it's time.
Yeah, that's great. So I just have a couple more things I wanted to mention. The AV Club has written that the footage from the first Gulf War on the TV, coupled with the depiction of them as a wealth hoarding perversion of the typical
Mm,
upstanding suburban couple, marks the movie as a satire.
mm.
And he called the woman and the man characters a cartoonish parody of conservatism. In Empire magazine, they referred to the Robesons, who are the man and the woman,
Mm.
as a camouflage Ronald and Nancy Reagan. And ComingSoon.net referred to them as the nightmare versions of Ronald and Nancy Reagan. So, I mean, I know right now we're watching in 2021, but this was made in 1991 when Reagan was still president. He was president until '88, right? And then it was
Yeah,
George
so
W. Bush,
Clinton or
right? No,
Clinton
now
was
it's
president.
Bush.
And yeah, was it Bush? Clinton was
Yeah, it was
92.
Yeah, 92 through 2000.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
right now we're in the Bush, which Bush
Ah,
was, it's
yeah.
just Reagan, next one. So LA Weekly called the film a satire of late capitalism, specifically in an LA run ragged by the free market of the 80s and the violence it created. And they noted it. They noted the comparisons again with the Robesons and the Reagans, and then compared them to more contemporary figures like Donald Sterling and your boy Donald Trump. Not your boy, but
Yeah,
Donald Trump.
yeah.
Yeah. And then lastly, in 1991 interview with Fangoria, Wes Craven stated that the film is much closer to The Hills Have Eyes than anything I've done in a long time. It's a raw film with no dreams in it whatsoever. It's an extraordinary, real situation involving an awful family that shouldn't exist, but unfortunately often does. He also said in the 2015 Blu-ray commentary track that Craven refers to the Robeson's house as representing the whole society of the United States.
Interesting.
So he was trying to say a lot with this movie, and I think he got a lot of his points across.
Yeah. I mean for sure.
Mm.
There's a lot of symbolism there. And well, I mean stuff that is, yeah, definite straight up satire. That's no, it's a very successful movie, I think.
What I do now is I ask, for a rating, what rating you would give this movie out of 5 upside down crosses to go with my theme. How many crosses would you give this movie? Upside down crosses.
Upside down crosses. I would give it, and now I always a caveat, I do like to watch things more than once before like I kind of solidify something, but
Mhm.
I would say solid 4.
Nice. That's a good number.
On a second viewing that might go up, but yeah, I think it's a solid
Yeah,
4.
it depends. Like on any given
Yeah.
day, I could rate a movie one thing and watch it the next and give it another.
Yeah.
But
I'm a
you
big.
liked it, which I love.
Oh yeah, no, I loved it. Like I'm a big rewatcher, so I would like to get a copy of it because I know my husband really likes it already. He was excited to watch it again. So
Awesome. That the Blu-ray comes with a great director's commentary. So if you can get your hands
awesome,
on that, yeah.
awesome.
So Jessica, what I do next is in order to fully absolve you of your horror sin, I will suggest 3 movies to you that are similar to this movie, and then you can see them in order to be fully absolved. Otherwise, if you don't see them, you're just burn in hell.
No. Yeah, that sounds great.
So, Jessica, these are the 3 movies that I would suggest to you. First, we have Housebound from 2014, and it's about a young woman who is forced to return to her childhood home after being placed under house arrest, where she suspects that something evil may be lurking.
Ooh.
This is another comedy horror that I think you might
Oh,
like.
it's comedy? Really?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound
Yeah.
like a comedy setup at all.
Well, you wouldn't think The People Under the Stairs was comedy
I
either.
know.
Yeah.
Man. All right.
The next
Jeez.
one I'll say is The Collector from 2009. And the description of this one is desperate to repay his debt to his ex wife. An ex con plots a heist at his new employer's country home, unaware that a second criminal has also targeted the property and rigged it with a series of deadly traps.
That sounds rad. That sounds
Yeah,
really fun.
yeah, this is in vein of like torture porn, but it's not torture porn. It's like the
Okay.
best parts of torture because I don't like torture porn very
Okay.
much.
Yeah.
But this is like the first Saw sort of thing. This is really good.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And then the third movie I'd recommend is another Wes Craven movie, Shocker, from 1989. And this is after being sentenced to the electric chair, a serial killer uses electricity to come back from the dead and carry out his vengeance on the football player who turned him into the police.
Nice.
It's again written and directed by Wes Craven, so I think you'll really
He's
like
got,
it.
like electricity powers.
Yeah, yeah, he does.
That's fun.
Yes. All right. So, Jessica, I want to thank you once again for coming onto the podcast. I really appreciate it. I hope you had fun. If you could
Yeah.
please tell my listeners where they could find you, where they could buy your awesome books. You even do like a blackout poetry thing that looks
Yeah.
really interesting. Please just tell everybody where they can give you money and support you.
Yeah. My website currently, it's kind of under construction right now, but it's McHuniverse.com. So that's McHugh, MCHUGH, and then the end of universe. So McHuniverse.com. And you can buy pre-made Blackout poetry there. There are links to all my books. I do Blackout poetry commissions, but they're closing like in the next week or so. So unless you hit me up real soon, because I have several novels I need to finish, and
Okay.
I got 2 books coming out from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing next year. So there's going to be a lot of fun stuff happening, and you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at the Jess McHugh. And yeah, pretty much just Google me and I'm sure a bunch of stuff will come up. It might not all be good, but
Yeah.
also there's like a scientist named Jess McHugh, so she's making me look real good.
Well, you were.
I was briefly in molecular diagnostics. This lady is much better.
Yeah,
She's
but
like
I bet she
real.
can't. I bet she can't talk about the people under the stairs for 3.5 hours, though.
She
so.
probably cannot. Well,
Yeah.
you never know. You never know. We got to reach out to her.
That's true. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Hope you had fun. Hope you come back.
Absolutely.
Great. Well,
apparently I have lots of movies to watch. So
yeah, you did.
I missed a lot during like years of not watching stuff. So yeah, I got a lot to catch up on.
So if you'd like to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at MHC, like My Horror Confessional, MHC Pod. You can follow me on Instagram at My Horror Confessional. If you'd like to email the show, the email is myhorrorconfessional@gmail.com. The music you heard was by Taylor Fox. You can follow her on Instagram at the Taylor Fox. She's also just recorded an album, a really dope album that you're gonna love when you hear it. You could, her band is called Great Hag, so you can look out for that information when it comes out. The artwork was done by Captain Mikey. You can follow him on Instagram at Captain_Mikey_art. Thank you once again for listening. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you later.